right, gentlemen, y'all ready? I'm down one commissioner. Where'd he go? There he is. Okay. Kelly, Carrie, y'all ready? Y'all all ready? Bob, you got your own table tonight. Look at that. Welcome to the big leagues. Okay, we will call to order the regular meeting of the City Commission for Tuesday, December 8th. Please silence your cell phones, or at least make sure they're set to Christmas music. Or not, that's whatever. They started it so early this year, I'm kind of over it already. But City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Mayor Owen.
Here.
Vice Mayor Sachs.
Here.
Commissioner McGurk.
Here.
Commissioner Hartman.
Here.
Commissioner Colodi.
Here.
Thank you.
So before we move on to invocation pledge, I want to point out we're having some slight technical difficulties with the wireless signal or something with the Wi-Fi. I don't know what it is, but you'll be able to follow along. Normally we project on the screen during the meeting what we're seeing. If you want to pull up any of the agenda attachments, you can go to cityofnsb.com. In the middle of the screen will be an agendas and minutes, I think it says. And if you click on that link, you can find tonight's meeting, and you click on agenda packet, and you'll be able to follow along that way. And we're trying to get that worked out just as soon as possible. And commissioners, you'll be able to follow along in your iLegislate app on your iPads. And then I think we have one person who may email us a presentation for later. So sorry about the technical difficulty. I think the live stream is working though, so that's what we're trying to make sure we get that works. All right, with that, we're going to have an invocation and then a pledge of allegiance immediately following. Police Department Chaplain Beverly Richardson will give the invocation. And if you'd remain standing after for the pledge of allegiance.
I invite you to pray with me. Gracious God, we pause as this meeting begins and acknowledge you as the giver of every good gift. We thank you, O Lord, for the gift of this community and for all those who have been called and have responded to care for this community. Please continue to watch over them and help us as citizens in the community to respect the leadership and to speak our truth, that together we may be good servants and caretakers of that which you have entrusted us. This evening we ask your Spirit to be upon our commission and our mayor as they discern your will for this community. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Khaled, do you have any changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. We have one change. It's item 10A, and that is the neighborhood council. Commissioner McGurk is not ready to appoint his designee, so we want to continue it to January meeting, please.
Any objections to continuing that item from the commission? Hearing none, we will continue item 10A. So if you're here for the neighborhood council appointment, that item is continued to January. And gentlemen, item 7C, the formula business discussion and further conversations, I asked for that to be added to this agenda, and further conversations with our city attorney, city manager, and staff. I think it's still, I think mea culpa, I think the cart's a little before the horse. We've got to slow down and wait on some of this historic district stuff to come out. So I'm going to propose that we pull that from this agenda for discussion tonight as well, and we'll bring that back just as soon as we can get everything else lined up. Any objections to doing that? Hearing none, we'll pull item 7C as well. So that item will come back to us at some future meeting. All right, next item up is public participation. We have no announcements or presentations. So public participation, this is your chance to address the commission on any item related to the city of New Smyrna Beach. If you can come to this mic, give your name and address, you'll have about 3 minutes. If you watch that clock over there, be courteous to your fellow citizens in your timing. Yes, ma'am, come right ahead. If you want to speak after her and you're in the very back of the room, come find the chair up front. It'll be faster. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Hi, Elaine Stathakis, 513 South Peninsula, New Smyrna Beach, and representing the Flagler Avenue Hospitality Group. And I just wanted to give a little update. We had our wine walk Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. We had 260 participants and 10 stops, no more than 30 at any one stop at any one time. All of the locations except for one poured outside, and that one just didn't physically have outside space to do it in, but they did social distance. And I made a stop at every single location. Everyone pouring, was wearing masks, wearing gloves. And it was, people were happy to be there. They were very thankful, very respectful, and got a lot of positive feedback. So I just wanted to give you that report and say thank you. And we intend to do December as well. And we limited the number of tickets to 300, but we didn't even need to go to it. So, any question?
Not seeing any questions. Thank you for that update.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Any others for public participation? Yes, ma'am, come ahead.
Hi, my name's Lisa Willis. I live at 121 Faulkner. I had a recent situation with a homeless person at my house, and I wanted to make you all aware of how things are escalating around my area. We wrote to you about it, my husband did. It seems like it's escalating and that they're getting more and more comfortable with living in our area and being on our property, trespassing. It was very scary, it was dark, and there was a gentleman who opened my gate and slept on my couch on my front porch.
Yeah.
I think something should be done.
Okay, thank you. I do remember your email. I believe I responded. I'll mention now, we are having a workshop tomorrow, and that is one of the topics. I know we're going to do a deep dive on that. So you may not hear more talked about tonight because we are talking about it tomorrow. But yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Rachel Allen. I live at 119 Faulkner Street. Good evening, all of you. So I'm just going to piggyback on the last lady that was just here, Lisa Willis. She lives right next door to me. And the situation is, we've come and spoken in front of you guys many times. The situation is not getting any better. We have consistently done what we were asked to do, and that's contact the police department when we have an issue. This particular situation, this person was on private property, on the actual bench, sleeping on their pillows, on their bench. The police department was called. Took longer than it should have to respond. I know it wasn't a high emergency, but basically, when the officer got there, he basically didn't do anything. He called the homeless person by name, asked him to come off of the porch, asked him why he was there, how long he had been there. The homeless person said he'd been there since 2 a.m. in the morning. This is 7:30 in the morning. And he asked him to leave. He said, go away. And at that point, I was on my balcony. It's right next to my house. Lisa and Ken were on their balcony, and I stopped the officer. Officer Hunt, what's going on? Why are you just leaving when this is happening? And he basically said that there's nothing, that he did not commit a crime, which I find to be a little disheartening when somebody doesn't live in my house, he doesn't live on my property, and he's on my property using my property stuff. Is a little bit disheartening. Again, this isn't my property, but it was right next to my property. They were very upset. You know, I'm representing the Tabby House community tonight as the president. Couldn't be here. She just had foot surgery. You know, we purchased property in this area. We love the downtown area. We love to live here, but it's super uncomfortable when people are urinating in public view during the day in front of children in this park right over here. They're now sleeping on our property. They are also, consistently stealing different things from our property, and we call law enforcement. We're not getting any help behind this. Like, it's super frustrating, and we need your help. I'm sure none of you guys would be okay if this was happening on your front porch. So please help us. We've begged. I'll be here tomorrow. We need your help. We don't know what to do. We don't know what the answer is, but you're our city leader, so we're asking for your help. Again, Rachel Allen. I live 119 Faulkner Street. I'm a representative for a business, actually 2 businesses, a homeowner, and I'm a taxpayer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rachel.
Got my mess,
It's
sorry.
okay.
Kathy Sartani, I live at 130 Sam's Ave, also part of Tabby. And piggybacking on everything they've said, something I've just noticed, I'm on the facing east, right behind the courthouse, and there's two picnic tables right out there in that area. And now there is a office chair out there. So they're not only sitting on these picnic tables, and I pick up trash quite a bit, but there is now a office chair that they use to sit on too. So that's basically more trash out there. So my thing about that is just something small, like if it's right there in front of my house, maybe they can move it along the north side of the annex. So it's way over in those trees for now, near the Lynx station, instead of having it right out here, right in front of my house when I come out to walk my dog and things like that. And, you know, at least that over there, they want to sit over there, that would work, but until we figure something else out. But that's just my added part to this.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Cynthia Radigan. I live up in Terra Trail. This is my umpteenth opportunity to bring to the commission that there is still an ongoing issue with noise from flight training over my house. There was probably over 1,000 planes over my house today. 1,000, easily. And I'm begging you, I am begging you to please do something about this. It's affecting my quality of life. It's affecting my home value. It's affecting every aspect of my life. It's affecting my well-being. I am begging you to do something about this. You've heard from me for over 15 years. I'm not going away. This is my home. And you are invading my home, and you're allowing the bully to knock us down and kick us repeatedly over and over and over again because you're refusing to do anything about it.
Okay, thank you. Any others for public participation? Yes, sir. Come ahead. Good afternoon.
Congratulations on everybody getting your seats.
Thank you.
I had an incident a couple weeks ago, and I must say that Officer Chief came out and he talked to me. That let me know he does care about the community. And I think I emailed the commissioner, and he got the email. But I live on Myrtle, 318 North Myrtle. It's a street that travels north and south. And how fast do you got to go down Myrtle, turning into a drag strip? It's noisy. Trucks that shouldn't be on the street, that big, traveling down the street. I know it's 20 miles an hour on Washington, east and west. It's got to be similar on my street. And in excess, 30, 40 miles an hour. And it's certain times of day. You have children walking from Chisholm all the way to Babe James, and it's just a matter of time before somebody jumps a curb and somebody gets hurt. Please help us. Some calming traffic ideas. I would welcome it. I don't know if anybody else is going to speak up on Myrtle. I haven't talked to anybody. I've tried it before, but I need you guys' help with that traffic. It's horrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, hang on, we got a question.
Steve Washington.
Hang on, Mr. Washington, hang on.
I got a quick question for you. I appreciate. I didn't catch your name though.
Timothy Washington.
Mr. Washington, you said that there was certain times of the day. Do you see a correlation with the school or not? Is this parents flying down to pick people up or drop them off? Or is that not the,
I don't think it's a correlation with the school. I think it's just every day. Well, of course, when they were doing construction on US 1, there was a detour. And I think some people have learned that if they go this way, it's a little quicker, and it needs to be unlearned.
okay. I just was curious whether or not it was a school issue because I know they're expanding the school and my kids go to the school there. So I was just trying to figure out if that was an issue that I can work with the school board on. But if it's more of a cut through,
Yeah,
it's more of a cut through to avoid the intersection.
it is. I think it is.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Washington.
All right, thank you. His son is one of the best jazz musicians in this town, by the way. Right? He is. Any others for public participation? All right. Seeing no others for public participation, we will close public participation. I want to just reiterate, I know I had a few folks that joined us late. We have pulled item 10A, which is the Neighborhood Council, and item 7C. Those have both been pulled from tonight. If you missed that discussion, catch one of us after. We can tell you why behind that, but those items have been pulled. Consent agenda. Does anyone wish to pull anything? We'll begin with the Vice Mayor, Sachs, and then work our way back this way. Anything to pull, Vice Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, could we pull 6H just for discussion and clarification?
6H, so that's the boat docking hours?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner McGurk, anything to pull?
Nothing.
Commissioner Hartman, anything to pull?
F, H, K, and L.
Okay, hang on. F as in Frank, Foxtrot, this is Hartman. F8, H you said, which is already pulled.
Yes, K and L.
K and L, okay. Commissioner Colodi, anything to pull?
No, they've all been covered.
Okay. I think that covers all of mine as well. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda excluding items 6F, H, K, and L?
Motion to approve.
Second.
City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sachs,
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes,
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hartman, item F.
All right, on item F, the staff's recommendation is to use number 3, which would be to not fill the assistant maintenance director's position and also not doing the roof on the administrative roof building. Is that correct? Okay.
To delay it for next year budget.
All right, again, at the last meeting, I can't support that. I truly think that it should come out of the paving budget at this time, and then we can readdress that at the end of the year if there's additional money, or we can see what happens, hold off paving until more towards the end of the budget, because these items were already brought before us during the budget cycle. There was discussion about those, and we approved those. You know, I just have a concern that if they truly weren't needed in this year's budget, why are we putting them off until next year's budget? When we truly have money set aside for paving and or sidewalks, which to me would make more sense to take it out of the paving budget to fix the bike path over on the North Causeway. But whatever we do, we certainly need to either close it or put signs up that you're at your own risk, because it's a hazard to the people that are using it.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi had a comment as well.
yes, I have difficulty with this. This is in my zone. I've had a number of concerned residents pointing out the tripping hazards, which are there. However, I did have a disagreement with the program that's being put forth, so even though I'm familiar with the path, I went out and walked it. I walked up and back. It's 2 miles. I find that there's only about 15% of the path that is truly hazardous. There are other sections of the path which have alligator cracking and are basically kind of ugly. We've done some patches in the past and they've held up. I do not see it appropriate at this time to redo the entire path. I think we should concentrate our efforts on that 15% of the path that needs to be taken care of for safety reasons. That also includes removing the trees, taking care of the tree problems, and replacing the ADA mats, which are non-existent in a lot of area there. 30,000 should handle that. And I also wish to point out, although Commissioner McGurk pointed out, the fact that the bicycle and the walk path, which is scheduled to go through there, probably won't occur for a couple of years. But that's 45% of the cost. And a lot of that area is in fair condition or better. So I just can't see spending this amount of money. We're going to be doing the Barracuda Bridge in 2022, hopefully. A portion of the bike path goes over that bridge, and that bridge will include that path. So I think we might have a little luck pushing up at least a segment of that path, which is funded basically by others, a little up. I can't support spending this amount of money at this time on something we didn't intend to spend the money on.
Okay.
So I tend to agree with both of you. I walk the path myself, and you know what comes to mind is we want walking paths, multi-use trails, and we want trees. And there's a few areas that are really bad, and there's some areas that are not too bad. And if it's just an aesthetic issue, I think that's something we live with when we want to have a heavily treed community. So I'm flexible. I'm going to certainly take some direction from your district and what you'd want to do. I don't disagree that I think we can hit this in patches. I'm not an expert, but when I look at it and I see a few patches already down there, they seem to be holding up and they look pretty good. And I assume they've done the problem, solved the problem in those specific areas. So just letting you know that I'm flexible, and one big lump cost of $110,000, $15,000 is not necessarily something I see that needs to be done also right now.
Good.
If I may, Mayor, I have not walked this bike path. I would like to continue this item. I want to walk the path either this weekend or the weekend after, bring it back in January. I think the staff, when they looked at it initially, they realized that you got sections that they were bad, and I think they didn't want to have multiple sections that just looks like a patch. So that's why they wanted to do it an overall project. But give us a chance to go back to the drawing boards, let's look at it, and we'll come back in January with another analysis on it. So.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a quick suggestion?
Sure.
It is one of our premier paths. It's a very nice path. We love to travel, mostly by bicycle, and you can jar yourself if you ride over the tree roots too fast. Could we possibly add some asphalt tastefully to around those humps to smoothen them out in the meantime, which would be much lesser expenditure?
You could do that, Commissioner, but I don't think it'd be appropriate. Then you're going to have a hump on it. So I think if you need to repair it, it needs to be repaired appropriately. So.
And did we have an injury there? I know it was kind of sudden that we're looking at this now, when actually on 7th Street I was hoping for a sidewalk someday for the high school students. But you know, we have such a tremendous list of faults in our sidewalks, which I know we'd all love to fix. When can we really look at the North Causeway?
Well, hopefully we'll bring it back in January, if there is no action tonight. We'll bring it back to first meeting in January. That will come up with a plan. I mean, if we wanted to just kind of do a repair job, I think we could do that. I think Commissioner Colodi has mentioned that he walked it, he saw the sections. So we'll see what happens when we come back in January.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. And I also, I'll defer to Commissioner Glody and working with staff on that, and maybe if you can bring us back one option that is a partial, because there are some economies of scale. That's what the staff report indicated last time, that mobilizing things to get out there to do a little bit, you get the rest of the job for maybe not that much more. So I think quantitatively looking at that is the way to go. So, all right, so item 6F will come back to us at a future meeting. Item 6H, I believe you pulled that one, Commissioner Sachs.
Yes, just a question about staffing. We're proposing a limit of 5 hours in a 24-hour period. It really does seem difficult with all the skiffs and dinghies that have parked for whatever reason. Maybe some of them are itinerant, but it's packed. So I think 5 hours is reasonable, but who will police that?
Well, it's code enforcement and police, but it's going to be reactive more than active. If the staff at the Brandon Center, they informs us that this boat has been there for a while, we will respond. I don't think we have a staff level to be here 24/7 to monitor the situation, so. But it'll be police and code enforcement.
Thanks, and I'll support it.
I think it gives us the tool, basically, if we have an egregious situation, which we've had a few of. So, can I get a motion to approve item 6H?
So moved.
Second.
City Clerk, if you'd call the roll on that one.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
No.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 6K is Commissioner Hartman again.
All right, when I was reading through this report, I had a couple of questions regarding this, and let me go find my thing. This seems to be a lot of time consumption on staff's part, where the staff has to actually do the scheduling for these spays and neuterings, and then they have to transport the cat to Daytona and then back from Daytona. Have we looked at any local vendors here in town that may provide the same service? Even if it's a few dollars more, it's still going to save us on time and driving time and things like that. The others is, what other cities are there any problems that they're experiencing? I remember there was an article last year in the News Journal about some problems Port Orange was having with this same agreement, and they were reluctant to renew their agreement based on some of the problems that they had. And then the third is, I mean, what actually is the procedure? Because if we have a contract with the Humane Society to take these animals, why are we even involved in this? Why is it not something that they're doing? That's a lot to throw at you, Megan, and I apologize.
No, you're fine. So the problem Port Orange was having last year was actually with Concerned Citizens for Animal Welfare, not with the Reddinger Clinic.
Okay.
So that was a separate issue. And then as far as the transport, the citizens provide all of their own transport to and from the clinic. We don't do any sort of transportation. And in our contract with Concerned Citizens, they are still the ones who would set up the appointments as they've always been doing.
Okay.
And then even in the ones local and closer, Daytona is still the cheapest one at a 10 to 25% savings, depending if it's male or female. A lot of the clinics here, the prices go on versus male or female cats. Daytona is a one solid fee, regardless what it is. And that includes everything in that one fee.
Well, there's some questions about whether anesthesia was included in the fee or extra fee. You know, if
That's for if they already have a cat that is for some reason already fixed, but the ear wasn't clipped at the time for whatever reason. At one point, it was somebody's house pet or something.
Okay.
They still had to use the anesthesia and knock it out, but they're not going to go through with the surgery part of it.
So do we actually have a policy and procedure on the way that we handle this? And
We've just had the contracts.
okay. So to me, it seems like there's some open-ended things out there that we're not really sure with results, with cost and things like that. So I'd like to see a little bit more information on that. So for that reason, I can't support it at this time.
One quick comment on that, and I'll come to you, Commissioner. Megan or Chief, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we have a overall budget for this that we don't exceed. So this isn't just open-ended and just the meter spins. There's a capped budget. We do as much as we can within that budget, and when we're finished with that, we're finished for the year until we get more budget.
Correct.
I don't know if that helps at all for your concerns, but just wanted to bring that up.
It helps somewhat, but it should have been in the report.
Okay.
You know.
Mr. Colodi, you had a comment?
Just for the audience's benefit, could you give your name and your association?
Oh, sorry. My name is Megan Wilk. I'm the Animal Control Officer for New Smyrna.
Thank you.
Okay. No other comments on this one? To have a motion to approve item 6K.
So moved.
Do I have a second? All right.
I'll
Item-
second it.
Okay. It's just in time. I mean, I'm sensing trepidation, so are there other concerns? Do we need to give this more time, or? All right. So-
Question, sorry.
Go ahead.
Megan, do you happen to know, is there a presiding doctor that oversees this whole program?
Dr. Green is the one we work with at Halifax.
So he's a Florida licensed veterinarian.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we had a motion and a second. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
No.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks,
No.
Mayor Owen.
Yes. Item 6K is approved. Item 6L, I believe that one was, also, I think you pulled that one. I lost track. I know I have your name next to it, so we'll start with you. 6L.
So at this time, it's staff recommendation to reduce the fee down to 25%, which is the $750. I think that in the past, we've been a partner and a party to this event and have done it for free in the past. I don't know that this year, with all that's going on with COVID and trying to help support the small businesses and the community and some things that are going on with that, I do understand that there's some staff needs there. I hope that they understand that there's some hard cost involved in this with the lighting and stuff like that. I'm talking with staff. There's really no plan as of to date as to how long they're going to need the Brandon Center, whether it's a 1-day, 2-day, or a 3-day kind of event, depending on that. So I'd like to table this until the January meeting, which I think we have time for, and see if we can't work out something a little better.
Okay. I feel like somebody else had also tried to pull this one. Did anybody else have a comment? I had a few comments, but, all right, I'll go first, and then if anyone else has a comment. So I tend to agree with Commissioner Hartman. I'm going to ask, Richard is here. Does that January timeframe, does that work with you if we agree to hold the date even between now and then?
Okay.
Yeah, come ahead.
It was actually my understanding that what was requested was a waiving of the fee. I actually know nothing about $750. So that's a surprise to me as of the moment, which is what had been taking place in the past. We chose a Thursday for less overlap with another revenue-producing night. When this was first done here, it was done on a Sunday afternoon, last year it was supposed to happen on a Saturday, or in 2020, but COVID got in the way of that. And the event itself is a few hours long. The setup is relatively significant, so the setup would largely take place on the Wednesday, and the event itself would be on the Thursday. And there is nothing happening at the Brannan Center other than those were open dates as of the time we coordinated with the management here.
And the takedown would be what, on Thursday also?
It probably would end up coming down on Friday. I'm not positive of that yet, because the timing of the event is likely to be early evening, and SES is likely the provider of the hard setup materials, and I'm not sure that we could get them here later in the evening on the day of the event, or the evening of the event.
Okay. Then I apologize because I read this wrong. Because I thought we were going with staff's recommendation and not.
No, you.
Okay.
No, that's the reason I had pulled it, because if we had just approved it, that's what we would have been approving. So I was going to speak to that as well. Because
Okay.
what the hub has requested is different than what staff's recommendation was, and that is they've requested, so staff has recommended based on kind of policy, which is the 25% for nonprofits. We have in the past, as a partner, kind of spinning this whole thing up, which is a great program, by the way. I've been at both events, very, very different events because of COVID one year. But the hub is requesting that it be waived in its entirety, which is different than what's here. I had the same concerns about it being 3 whole days. So I think I like that it's on a Thursday, that takes a Wednesday for setup, Thursday's the event, and if we're out by Friday morning, that leaves us a Friday afternoon, another revenue slot, afternoon, evening, hopefully. So I think that's a commitment I would ask for. I think it also should be noted, we also give a monetary contribution in addition to the donation to the facility.
That's true.
I think in future years, and I've said this to others that have come, Marine Discovery and others, I love being a part of the early to get stuff going in the community, but I think eventually it needs to either live or breathe on its own or die. And so I'd like to see us in the next few years start weaning away and saying we maybe just donate the facility and not do the monetary, and we raise that from the community or other sources. So, but for this year and a time like this, I can support moving this forward as requested with a full waiver, contingent on being on those dates and cleared out by that Friday morning. Any other questions on this, or could I get a motion to that effect, or if not, if someone else has another motion they'd like to make?
Motion to approve the request from the hub.
Second.
Okay, so for clarity, it's a motion to approve as requested, which is waiving the full fee on those dates. Did I cover all the things? Do we need anything else? All right. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Cluny?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we've made it through the consent agenda. It's only 7:10. We're blistering pace. Item 7A, discussion regarding the property for sale on Locust Street. City managers, their reports. Kyle, there he is. And again, remember, we don't have all the same, we don't have the projection we normally have, but if you go to the city's website, look under the agendas and minutes section, you can find tonight's agenda packet and follow along on your smart device. Yes, sir, Kyle.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Just a brief history. Although the parcel that's located between 913 and 915 Locust Street is a developable, it's 50 by 115 developable lot, the property owner recognized that it's a low-lying area and actually approached the city to see if you want to consider purchasing the property and converting it into a scenic retention area. So this obviously caught my attention because I was involved with the Central Beach Phase 2, the drainage improvement project, and I understand the volume of water that collects within the valley between Adams Avenue and Locust Street, just adjacent to Atlantic. And currently all we have is there's a little 2-horsepower lift station pump that directs runoff west down Locust to Adams, to Second Avenue and ultimately out to Catalisa Creek. And at times, this may be overwhelmed, relying on trailer-mounted pumps and generators during power outages. And this pond would provide a security blanket, if you will, in the necessary volume to encapsulate the storage for this drainage basin. So when we first looked at the proposal from the property owner, to me it seemed a little high. So we looked at comparable properties in the area and found that the asking price is in line with recent sales, particularly since his price includes the development, the permitting, design, and actual construction of the scenic retention area. And with regard to the improvements, I was out there this afternoon. The lot does sit low. It's about 18 inches lower than the property to the south, probably about a foot lower than the property to the west, and likewise similar, about a foot below the property to the east. So what we would do is simply lower the existing grade 2 to 3 feet, make some mild slopes, have it sodded, etc. Make sure the pond's designed so it's the pond bottom is at least a foot above the seasonal high water table, so it would recover within 72 hours. There'd be no standing water, no issues with mosquitoes or extended standing water for a period of time. I would also recommend that the design include and keep, there are 7 trees on site, there's 6 palms and 1 oak tree, and we could contour the embankments in the pond configuration to save those trees. So essentially, based on what I've seen and the historical issues with water collecting in the area and the need to supplement the drainage infrastructure, at this point in time, engineering supports purchasing the property for the asking price of $417,000 using the stormwater utility fee, and this includes the property owner's commitment to construct the retention area. And I'd be happy to entertain any questions you may have.
All right. Any questions or comments from the commission? If not, do I have a motion on this item?
Well, I do have some discussion. No questions.
Okay. Comments are welcome. Go ahead.
I've taken a look at it. In my mind, we don't really have enough information to see whether this will solve the problems for the adjoiners. I can't go ahead with it at this point. We don't know what standards this would be constructed to or exactly how effective it would be. It would certainly be a help, but that's a lot of money to pay for a little help. I would like to have some assurance that it would really address the issue. I know there's people across the street and people adjacent to it that do have problems, and I would like to solve it, but I can't support it at this time. Once again, it's something we didn't have in our budget, we didn't expect to spend, so I think we got to look into it a little more.
Okay.
Do we want to table this? Want to take some more time with this? What do we want to do here? If I have the district commissioner not supporting it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he raises, I was, and staff will tell you in my discussions with them, I was kind of on the fence on this one, but you just said something that really, you said it better than what I was dancing around with staff, and that is, does it solve the problem? Like, is this, just because it's the proposals in front of us, is it the right one to take as the next dollar that we spend solving this problem? So I can certainly support letting Commissioner Colodi, as the representative of that zone, work with staff a little more and help bring us back either assurances that this does or does not, help our cause. So,
I want to solve flooding in this community. Basically, we're paying the sins before there were ever any stormwater requirements back many, many years ago. So, part of me does want to go forward with this project, but if the district commissioner, and he himself is an engineer by trade, is concerned about it, that certainly makes me pause. And I think we just at least spend a little time, hold this off a little bit till we can get a better comfort zone.
Well, I thank the rest of the commissioners and the mayor for that consideration. We're not actually committing to any money right now. We're just having a fund source, so it's only for discussion. In my discussion I'd like to see more information. So there's really nothing to table at this point that I know of.
Yeah, no, just saying that, yeah. No,
Yeah,
there's not from where we're at tonight, yeah. From what we've done so far, there's nothing to table, yes.
Correct.
We hadn't taken a motion yet, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, a question for Kyle. Kyle, do you recall a storm event in the last 5 or so years where we've had to bring employees out with large pumps to pump out that area or divert the water?
We, during, as a precautionary measure, prior to any storms, named storms or any rain events that are projected, we do mobilize pumps in that area in case power goes out. There's no on-site backup generators for these pumps.
For the past, since 2001, that was the biggest storm that the city ever received, 12 inches in 24 hours. And then 2009, and then probably I would say the past 10 years, I would say probably twice a year that we would go out there and have a pump to pump. This particular lot, in 2001, the water was standing in the lot for almost a month. So, now the question is, does it solve the problem completely? I don't think there is any solution out there that's going to solve it completely, because I don't think there is out there a storm that you could design for. I mean, you could design it for 100 years, and look what happened when we had the 2016. I mean, it got the stage up to 6.6. So it does help, but I don't think it would solve the problem completely.
And candidly, the cost of the lot is concerning. It may be commensurate, but it's really high.
Yeah, I mean, it's beachfront property.
Right.
Whatever we use it for is irrelevant. Its market value is that, although if they heard this discussion, the market value probably would be impacted a little bit. Okay. So I will pause for a moment if anyone wants to make a motion on that item. If not, it's going to be not decided tonight, and it can always come back to us at a future meeting if staff chooses to work with Commissioner Colodi a little more. All right, hearing no motion, we'll move on to item 7B. And again, I'm still open to hearing it. I just want to make sure we know, does it solve the problem? Or does it at least help, to what magnitude does it help the problem? That's kind of the...
Correct. I'm more than happy to sit down with our engineer and discuss a little more with the details on it. I would like to improve the situation out there.
Yeah.
But when you hear comments like water sat there for a month and we're talking about a basin to infiltrate, we just got to be careful we're going to get what we want.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, next item is a property for sale at 214 Columbus. We'll hear from city staff first. I think we've got some representatives from the property here as well. And I haven't gotten an email with his slides yet, so if that's happening, it hasn't happened for me yet, so go ahead.
All right. I have received an email from the Coronado Community United Methodist Church regarding the sale of this 214 Columbus. And they wanted to give the city first option to buy. Right now, their asking price is $377,000. This property in particular abuts the Coronado Civic Center parking lot. I think it's very essential that we purchase this property for two purposes. We could immediately have a surface parking available, or we could leave the structure there and maybe we could lease it, and then with the idea that, you know, for future development or future expansion of the parking at that site, that we could use it. Typically, we have to get two appraisals if the commission wants to move forward with it, and based on the appraisals, we could make the offer back to the church. I have, Commissioner Colodi has asked me about the lease for the parking that we lease from the church. I went back, I looked at the lease, and the lease was established in November 17, 2011, and it was for 5 years with another additional 5 years. So it does expire in November 17th of 2021. I have asked board members to see if we could make the extension of the lease as part of the purchase, if we do purchase, at least for 10 years. So my recommendation is to purchase this property with the idea of parking initiative for the beachside, with the condition that we extend the lease on the parking for at least 10 years.
Okay. We do have some representatives from the seller here, and I think they want to make a couple of comments. So if you want to do that now, and then we'll take commission comments. Before you begin, though, I do want to say, on behalf of the commission and the city, I really do appreciate no matter what happens tonight, however this turns out, I can't tell you how my commissioners feel about this, but we do appreciate you letting us have a first shot at this, and that really does mean a lot, and we appreciate the partnership. So with that,
thank you very much. So you can hear me better. Is it okay if I remove the mask while I'm up here? Okay. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Bob Williams. I'm a resident here in New Smyrna Beach. I'm here this evening both on behalf of Coronado Community United Methodist Church and myself, requesting your consideration of a strategic opportunity for the beachside community and the city. The topic is the sale of the house at 214 Columbus, adjacent to the Coronado Civic Center on Flagler Avenue, as the manager stated. Coronado Community United Methodist Church has renovation and building maintenance projects that we believe will better serve our congregation than continuing to own 214 Columbus. So as a congregation, we have reached consensus that it is time to sell this property and apply those capital assets in other areas. For a number of years now, the church has enjoyed a strategic partnership with the city on that other adjacent property currently used for surface parking. This arrangement has been a win-win, providing continued parking for our church on Sunday morning and improving desperately needed public parking for the businesses along Flagler Avenue the rest of the week. I'm here to ask you to consider the full potential of the property at 214 Columbus and what it has for both medium-term parking improvements as well as to a potential strategic future parking enhancement to Flagler Avenue. I will confirm for you that while the church has already received a private cash full price offer at the independently appraised value, we are open to giving the city a first option due to the strategic nature of this property for the community. And as outlined in the staff brief for this item on the agenda, there are several short-term options for the city's use of this property, including leasing it or demolishing it and creating additional surface parking. But before I go on, I think it might be helpful to share that my perspective is as a multi-generational Floridian who has recognized how my community has benefited from the vision and strategic efforts of community leaders like you going back generations. A former great leader and mentor to me who was born and raised in this community taught me how planning for the inevitable growth that will always occur in this beautiful place we live has been and will always be essential in optimizing the quality of life going forward for all of us who live here and all of the guests we will host as part of our vital tourism economy. Flagler Avenue in New Smyrna Beach has become legendary across our region as a vibrant, walkable destination with highly attractive retail, hospitality, and entertainment experiences that benefit both our residents and our tourism guests. Unfortunately, the full potential of this asset in our community has become hampered by a significant lack of parking. Even with current parking resources, the surrounding neighborhoods are stressed by parking overflows. Furthermore, existing businesses are constrained in the customers they can serve due to the inability to accommodate adequate parking. Speaking now as a private citizen of this community, I believe there is an important strategic opportunity I would ask you to consider here today. Research shows that thriving communities across this state and the country have greatly enhanced their key community destinations through public-private partnerships around parking projects. Over the last several decades, myself and other leaders in this community have traveled with the Regional Chamber of Commerce to observe what these cities have done to improve these destinations. We have visited cities across the state, including Pompano Beach, Sarasota, St. Petersburg, Miami, where they have each shared their best practices. We've even gone to cities in other states, such as Charlotte, Greenville, Virginia Beach, and Austin, just to name a few. In each of these cities, mixed-use parking structures have been cornerstones to achieve the successes they have accomplished. Furthermore, there are many examples where creative architectural design can be used to create parking structures that fit in and preserve the charm and culture of the surrounding area. This was where I was hoping to show you a few slides. I have one printed copy. I will get a set to the clerk to distribute. Would you like me to hand these to you to pass around? Or?
Just give them to Kelly and we'll pass them around.
Sorry, I didn't anticipate that little technical difficulty. So there are also many example business models of mixed-use parking structures that enable participating private businesses to stay at their same address while gaining new upgraded facilities. The benefits to these businesses can include increased space, upgraded facilities with lower maintenance, and handicap accessibility, just to name a few. I believe and so I'm passing around the pictures, clearly something like this would be a major project that would take many months, if not years, of planning, development, and community involvement. So in summary, on behalf of Coronado Community United Methodist Church, I want to affirm our willingness to give the city of New Smyrna Beach the first option to purchase 214 Columbus. We think passing this property on to the city would be a good investment for the community. And on my own behalf, I also respectfully ask you to consider empowering city staff to initiate exploration of the feasibility and options for a strategic parking project at the site in partnership with the church, businesses, and residents in the area. Let me ask my associate Tracy, was there anything else that you wanted to bring up? Nope, we're good. So, and I'm also happy to answer any questions if you have them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Just for clarity, so there's no confusion. So tonight, literally the only thing we're talking about is this potential purchase of this property at Columbus Avenue. Everything else is with what we do with it after that, what kind of parking, whether it's surface parking or, what happens 10, 15, 20 years down the road is a whole other deeper dive discussion for many other workshops and probably future leaders to have. But so let's decide tonight whether we want to secure the property or not. With that, we'll open it up for discussion, and thank you for being available for questions. Yes, Commissioner Clody.
That was a very nice presentation. Centering on the piece of property for sale, it's my opinion that to own that property alone does not have significant value for the city. I do not want to become a landlord in any way, shape, or form. If we do purchase it, I would like to see it be used for parking. However, as the city manager has mentioned, our lease is running out on the adjoining property. He suggested that we enter into a new 10-year lease. Without that lease in place, I could not see myself supporting the purchase of this property. So those are my basic comments on it.
Okay, Commissioner McGurk.
That was a heck of a sales pitch from a church. I like that. So, how many people do we know in this town who said, if only I bought that time ago? We all have a story. Our parents have a story. Family has a story. One thing we know for sure is we need more parking. We need more parking for our small business. I think it's a good opportunity to buy. The market's high, yes, but when the economy goes down, guess what happens? The city has no money, we don't buy property. When real estate prices are a little high, no one wants us to pay that much for real estate. The bottom line is it's a good long-term investment, and if we don't take the opportunity, we're going to regret it in the future. I agree with Commissioner Colodi that this purchase has to be contingent upon a 10-year lease with the church. I want it for parking. Let me make that very clear and on the record. And I also agree with Commissioner Colodi, I do not want to be a landlord. If there's any structures on it, that is something we need to know going in what the intent of that property is for, and my intent is for be surface parking. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, some questions and comments.
Go ahead.
So my first question was answered, I believe. We might only be interested in purchasing this if we could continue renting the property from the church that's adjacent and to the east, I'm sorry, to the west.
Yep.
So we would do both. We would buy that and still lease the property. My biggest concern, if it's just surficial, how many cars can we get on that? Maybe 30, 40, I'm guessing, just by looking at the other cars on this Google Earth picture I'm looking at. Is it worthwhile? And how does it affect the surrounding neighborhood? There's about 3 or 4 homes. I don't know if the church owns them or not. That may be relevant. And another question for anyone, either in the owner or principals or staff. The parking that we're leasing from the church, is the hotel using that parcel for parking solely also?
Commissioner Sachs, the lease parking we have, it's a public use. We don't have signs on it that the hotels cannot use it. Now, talking to the hotel, I know they have parking on their own property, so unless if they have an overflow, but it's a public use. So it's 65 spaces that we have leased.
So the hotel does not pay us to park there?
No,
on
I
a
mean,
regular
if they
basis?
use it, they don't pay.
It's
but
free.
I'm not sure how much they use it. I mean, I use it quite a bit when I go to the area.
This is a long-term thought. I see a lot of nice trees on the property, and there's quite a few homes. And if we did consider it, I mean, I'm not totally against buying it. I have my reservations. Can we conserve some of these trees? As we see nice trees on the lot by the church.
You know, typically when we go into a property like that, I mean, we try to preserve trees that they are, to be protected and saved. Obviously, if we demolish the structure, and by the way, the structure is not considered a historic structure. So if we demolish the structure and we create surface parking, we will try to maneuver and meander around the existing trees if they're in good shape and in good size.
Has there been any discussion with resident neighbors about that at all?
we have
We're not at that stage.
We have not at this point because I just need to get the direction from the commission first before I do anything.
Thank you.
Any comments?
So for the record, I am a parishioner of the church, just so everybody knows that up front. So,
What does parishioner mean?
And for a number of reasons that have already been stated, I can support purchasing this property for future parking or future use. However, I'd like to see it used for affordable housing in some fashion until we just have a plan and start a plan. But that's for another discussion. So what we're asking tonight is whether or not you can go forward and go ahead and do the 2 appraisals and enter into negotiations with the church for a final deal. So I certainly can support that so that we can at least have those appraisals. Our appraisals may not be within the same numbers that they're looking for or have a desire for. So, I mean, that's certainly something up to you. And then whether or not it gets tied to a future amended lease for the other property, that's again up for the discussion. I don't think they've mentioned either that, so this may be the first time they've heard that. So, but I can certainly support going ahead with the appraisal process and then entering into the negotiations, and then we can see what happens at that point.
So, question for Khaled, because I thought I heard him say that they had another offer already, potentially.
Yeah.
Is it your understanding that if we approve this tonight, is it just that we're approving it and then it's going to come back to us for further approvals
Yes.
and negotiation
Well,
and
what typically would happen is I do the appraisals.
Yep.
And depending on what the appraisal is, if the appraisal is within this number, then we could make him the offer. If they accept the offer, we'll bring it back in whenever, either January, the first meeting or the second meeting in January. And if you approve that, then we just go to the
Okay,
closing.
so there's one more bite at the apple before this is finally approved,
Yeah.
but we definitely don't want to do all that if there's, 5 no votes, so, okay. My comments totally support it. I agree with some of what my fellow colleagues have said. I think it has to be contingent on the other lease, or just we get that done, in advance of this. I also think we should have it for surface parking. I'm not interested in it being, used in any other capacity. I do think we can protect the trees that are on the property. I think it's a good thought, because I've been on the other property and there's trees all through it. It's a beautiful lot. I think it should be unpaved. I don't think we should invest money in paving it. The other lot has worked fine as unpaved. We might could grade all of them. They're a little rough in the storms, but, and then lastly, I do think it would be worth a minor investment of some hedging, not even hard surfaces, but soft hedging along Columbus and even that other border between it and the other house, and kind of forcing the activity back towards the community center and the existing parking, and not allowing it to kind of flow back that other direction, out of consideration for those neighbors.
The design on the surface parking, we'll bring it back to the commission just to make sure that it complies with what you need.
Yeah, I just wanted to put all that out there to make sure as we evaluated the whole thing that all was, if we had any issues with any of those things, then we can factor that in the decision. With that, do I have a motion to approve staff moving forward with this process as has been laid out tonight?
I'll make that motion for
Do I have-
discussion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, had a motion and a second, and he had discussion, then I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
Yes, for clarity on the motion is to authorize the city manager to continue with negotiations regarding the purchase of the property and extension of the lease on the adjoining property, and also to authorize the expenditure of funds to obtain the appraisals.
Okay. You had a comment?
No, I was just looking for what motion he
I-
made. He
yeah.
seconded it, I was just.
Yeah.
Mr.
No.
Mayor, quick
Yes.
question / comment.
Okay.
If we could not continue the lease with the church 5-10 years down the line, or at any time, we can connect that area proposed for parking with the Coronado spots that we see that are parked there now?
They're contiguous, so I don't think there'd be
Right.
anything stopping us from doing that.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah, we wouldn't be hung out completely to dry on that. Good catch. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Cludy?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. All right, thank you all. 7C, we pulled, remember? That brings us to item 8A, a resolution 44-20. It's a public hearing to approve the intent to vacate a 10-foot wide public alley at the Pleasant Grove Baptist Church located at 214 North Myrtle. City will now conduct a public hearing. You, city attorney, will read the resolution by title only.
Resolution number 4420, a resolution of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, expressing the intent to vacate a portion of a 10-foot wide public alley located in the Inwood subdivision adjacent to 214 North Myrtle Avenue and 610 Washington Street, providing for conflicting resolutions and providing it for an effective date.
Okay, Mr. Mathen, do you have a report?
Yes, sir. The city has requested a vacation of the section of a 10-foot wide public easement located in the Inwood subdivision to the Pleasant Grove Church and a neighboring property. The 10-foot wide platted alley is currently unused by the City of New Smyrna Beach. The Utilities Commission doesn't have any utilities located in the platted alley or any future plans to install utilities in that platted alley. The Planning and Zoning Board voted 7-0 to recommend the City Commission to approve the alley vacation, and staff also recommends the city to approve the requested alley vacation.
All right, this item is a public hearing. Does any members of the public wish to speak just on this item? Any comments on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt Resolution 44-20?
Can we ask questions first, Mr. Mayor?
We can, go ahead.
Does anyone, maybe Bob, do you happen to know, was there an intention stated for the request to for us to vacate that alleyway?
Staff's been in communication with the church for some time, and we decided to move forward to have that vacated for them.
So it was church principals that asked for that vacation. I do have a concern, I just got to share it. It's been vexing me that we put those properties together and someday someone destroy the church and not so much re-gentrify, but build up that bigger property. That was a concern.
Yeah, right now what we're looking for is the portion that's going to be vacated that's between the vacant lot, which they own and use as their parking lot, and the actual church itself, is to attach that to the actual church property so that the church itself, the building, would be more consistent with the required setbacks for that zoning district. And then just to the outside, there's a little piece at the end of that alley that we would be giving half of it to a property owner of an existing house, and the other half of it would go to the church. It's about 23 feet long, about 10 foot wide.
So right now, we're essentially approving them to expand their parking lot and own that whole lot? No?
No, we're looking to prove to vacate the actual alley to the parcel that has the church building itself, and not to the vacant lots that are next to it. But since they own both of them, that's why we're not looking to divide it equally between the two different properties, since they're the owner of both properties.
Thank you.
So the church owns, if you look in the attachment, the aerial map, the church owns that vacant lot just to the north. And this is one right across from the Babe James Center. So they own that one, and then they own the church, but then this vacant alley splits their property, basically.
Yes.
So, but that's an interesting observation. That, I mean, you always wonder if there's some angle that we're missing. So, Bob or Brian, from your perspective, does this give them any extra development enhancements or rights that they don't already have between those two properties, or would it enable something we're not catching right now? I'm not saying that's their intent. I'm just trying to figure out.
This does give them more flexibility on how to use their property. When you have a right-of-way cutting through it, you have to have setbacks from that right-of-way. You can't have any building encroaching on that. So we have no plan in front of us for that particular area, but it does give that possibility.
And what is that zoned? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't actually have that in front of me.
Yeah,
I think
that's
it is. I actually believe that area is zoned R3, and churches are special exceptions in that
Yeah.
zoning district.
Okay. All right. Mike, go ahead, Commissioner Glidden.
Just a question. It's my understanding that the church does own the adjoining lots 4 and 5, and that in effect the entire properties would be merged into one lot. There's a little piece that fronts on lot 3, which you may have addressed, but I'm not quite sure. That lot 3 would then get half of that, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve.
Second.
Have a second. Any other discussion on this item? City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 4420 is adopted. Item 8B, conduct a quasi-judicial approval of the Serena Lakes final subdivision plat and development plans. City Commission will now conduct a quasi-judicial public hearing to consider this approval in accordance with City Code Section 2-147. If anyone has any ex parte communications to disclose, now is the time to do it. This includes the substance of any communication and identity of the person with whom the communication took place, written communications, and/or site visits. We'll begin with Commissioner Colodi and come down the line.
I have not met with or spoke with the owners or the representatives regarding this, so simply no discussions.
Okay. Vice Mayor Sacks.
No ex partes.
Commissioner McGurk.
No, I have no contact with the developers.
Commissioner Hartman.
None.
I also have no ex partes to disclose that I remember, and I guess if I don't remember them, they can't be evidence. So, Yeah, everything will be based on what we hear tonight from the experts. We'll now first hear from Assistant City Manager Brian Fields, if you would be sworn in.
Evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
If you would state your educational and professional background.
My name is Brian Scott Fields. I have a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from the University of Maryland, a Master's in Business Administration from the University of Florida. My position here is the Assistant City Manager and Director of Development Services. I'm a registered professional engineer in the state of Florida. I have 25 years of experience in land development, engineering, planning, permitting, and public administration.
Okay, is any member of the audience or the commission wish to question Mr. Fields on his professional qualifications? Hearing none, are there any objections to qualifying him as an expert witness in the area of land development? Hearing no objections, he's determined to be an expert in the area of land development and qualified to give opinion testimony concerning these matters. Brian, are you familiar with the Serena Lakes final subdivision plat and development plans?
Yes.
Please state whether it's consistent with the comp plan and share your recommendations for the special exception use request.
I think special exception was a typo in there. Apologize for that. Final plat and development plan.
I was reading, I was like, where did the special exception come in? Sorry.
Yeah, staff does recommend approval. Just a very brief overview. It is a final plat and development plan for a proposed residential single-family subdivision to include a proposed 91 lots within a 31-acre area. This site is located it's undeveloped on the east side of Sugar Mill Drive, about a quarter mile north of State Road 44. The plat and plans in this one's a little bit unusual. It was approved by the Planning and Zoning Board back in August of 2017. Shortly after that, there was a boundary line dispute identified, caused a significant delay. That has been resolved, and also the property subsequently has been sold to Meritage Homes, who's the applicant and who's here tonight. The city's land development regulations don't have a maximum time period between that planning and zoning and tonight when it's before the commission. However, what staff did, what we thought was appropriate, was a re-review of the plans to verify that all the ordinances and updates that have been passed between 2017 and now, that these plans correctly adopted those regulations. And we also required a resubmittal and review of the traffic impact study due to the amount of time that's passed. One ordinance that we passed last year was the wetland ordinance for using the net density. Because this was a PUD had been established, that ordinance does not apply to this project. However, we looked at it, and if it did apply, it would have a net density of about 3.3 units per acre, which would still be well under the 5.0 units per acre permitted under the low-density residential future land use designation. So it complies with that ordinance even though it didn't need to. A couple concerns that have been raised that I've heard, one is dust with a lot of development in the immediate area. This site would be subject to our construction site management standards that were adopted last year. That does give us the tools for enforcement of dust controls on the site. So overall, the plat and the plans do comply with the PUD, MDA, and the city's land development regulations. Therefore, staff recommends the City Commission approve the Serena Lakes final plat and development plans. Mayor.
Okay. Would any member of the commission or the applicant like to question Mr. Fields on his testimony? Yes, Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. Brian, I just have a couple of quick questions. There's a property owner to the west who I've had some contact with over the years on this. I just want to clarify three things. The dust which you, and to the applicant, I'm sure they're there, want to make sure that the water trucks are keeping the dust down. The vegetative buffer on the west side of the property be at least 20 feet. And the most important concern that this property owner has is the water retention, making sure that his property does not have any ill effect of water coming onto his property, flooding his property due to this development. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that and make sure that we can deal with those concerns for that property owner.
So 20-foot buffers are provided on all sides of the property. Those are on the plans. The dust control, as we have the tools to enforce. The Meritage Homes is on notice that that is a point of strong emphasis here for us with the site contractor. And then the stormwater retention, the stormwater ponds are on site directed away from that property. There's a central pond kind of it's basically the development is, it's like a donut with a pond in the middle, and there's a pond to the south and discharges to the wetlands to the south. So stormwater is collected internally and discharged in the opposite direction of the homeowner that you're speaking of.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission or the applicant of Mr. Fields? If not, we'll hear from the applicant next.
Quick question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Can the isolated wetland in the center be used as stormwater retention and expanded if needed?
The isolated wetland in the center is being impacted by the project, so that's, I mean, it's small and that's being
So they want to
mitigated.
take it?
Yeah.
Did they propose how many houses they can build on it?
They're allowed up to 100 in the PUD. The site plan and plat have 91.
Were they required to tell us what size lots yet?
That's also in the PUD. These are 50-foot lots. I know that's a little smaller than where we'd like to see development today, but that is in their PUD, and that's what they have.
Thanks.
Any other questions of Brian? If not, we'll hear from the applicant and any witnesses you would like to present. I assume you are the applicant or the representative of the applicant.
Yep, I'm Lee Suswit. I'm the Land Development Manager for Meritage Homes.
Okay, she's going to swear you in.
Okay.
Or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Anything to add?
Nope, we're here to build a brand new community in 91 homes. It'll be similar to our community we had, Coastal Woods, down the street. Similar type product. Home size will be about 1,600, 2,600 square foot. And we'd be looking to start development right away and start selling homes next year.
Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Hearing none. All right, if no questions from the applicant, if you can hang out for a minute more. We'll now hear from members of the public that wish to testify on this item, and again, that's just this item. Any members of the public wish to testify on this item, come right ahead. You can hang out right over there for a second, let him come up. As you approach the podium, she'll swear you in. Please limit your remarks to matters which you have personal knowledge related to this item.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Randy Herman, 108 Esther. I have just two questions. Is in the plan or anything about lighting, ambient lighting? We're getting more and more development out there. I continue to worry about our stars, and 91 houses can contribute a lot of lighting. So how lighting will be handled, and I think that was my major issue. Thank you.
I missed that last part, I'm sorry.
That was all I had.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. I thought you said you had two things. Applicant, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, the community will consist of the dark sky street lighting. So we'll have street lighting, but it's the dark sky where it points down and not upward. So it'll light the street and not so much the outside community, so.
Okay. Dark skylight. Learn something new every day. Okay, any other members of the public wish to testify on this item? Seeing none, we will close that portion. All right, any closing remarks from the city or the applicant? Brian, any
Nothing
closing
further.
remarks?
Question?
Any closing remarks? I'm coming to us in a minute.
No,
Any
sir.
closing remarks? Closing comments or questions from the commission?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
For Brian, is any of this property in a high hazard flood zone?
No, I think none of the developed areas in the floodplain.
Thank you.
So a couple of, I'm going to lead the witness here for a minute, Brian, if you would play the game with me. So this was approved substantively back in
17.
2017. So what you said nicely earlier was there are elements of this plan that are, you mentioned lot size, or somebody asked about lot size. There are elements of this plan that are things we're trying to move away from as a city, that we have, this commission has worked hard to try to improve and raise those standards. But because they're, the legal structure that they're operating under, we can't necessarily apply all of those changes retroactively to something that had come and been approved as it was back in 2017. Is that, did I accurately state all that? Do you have anything to add to that?
That's correct. The PUD requirements, if it's not expired and it's valid, those govern the development standards. Land development regulations that are not covered under that PUD that were passed after that date still do apply. So that's why we reviewed what was passed over the last few years.
Okay. So again, just for clarity for everyone involved, so if the commission said, you know, hey, we don't like this, we wanted to do, you know, we wanted to try to require larger lot sizes, lower density, you know, move it away from the wetlands or things like that. From your perspective, that's not allowed by the PUD as it's been approved. Is that an accurate statement?
That's correct.
Because that has already been, they have those rights vested already.
They have rights under the PUD, and as long as they stay within that framework, they really, you know.
So that would be like if a single-family property owner somewhere in New Smyrna had bought their little 1-acre dream plot, and they were allowed to build a home that was X% big, you know, 3,000 square feet, and all of a sudden they came in to get that permit, and you said, well, wait a minute, the commission's telling you you can only build 1,000 square feet now.
That's
and
correct.
They would say, wait a minute, I've had this approval since 2017. Okay. We get that. The public doesn't always get that, and they hear us approving things like that, and they say, oh, I just approved another 91 homes, and so just trying to educate. Okay. Go ahead.
So Track A is designated as a neighborhood park track. Are there any details for that, or is there? Are you gonna? Is it gonna just be an open space, or are you?
Yeah, it's just an open space. This site doesn't technically have amenities. We have a little connection point that'll have a bridge going over to that path that runs along the backside of the property. It'll
Okay.
tie into that. But yeah, just be a little open space, common area.
All right.
Any other questions or discussion by the commission? If not, do I have a motion to approve the Serena Lakes final subdivision plat and development plan?
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve. Have the least enthusiasm. I have a motion to approve in a second. Other discussion? Eli?
Just something brief.
Yes.
You know, we're proposing to allow this project at, I think it was 90-some odd homes, if I'm correct.
91. Yes,
91.
sir.
My concerns, not your concerns, but mine, and maybe our citizens, we have only limited police and fire, water, streets. You'll need, let me just narrow down, you'll need a new transportation impact analysis for this project?
That's been done.
Yeah,
That
we
was
did that. We
required
did an
before they
update.
appear here tonight.
Yep.
91 homes. You're approving this plat. The 91 homes was approved back in 2017, so that's not what you're approving. You're just looking at this plat and saying, yes, it meets the technical requirements that we require in our code.
Yes. Sorry, sometimes I look at the bigger picture, but I
No,
understand what we're
Yeah.
approving.
Well, you leave the meeting and people say that you just approved 91 homes.
I know,
That's
no, I know.
So, yeah. All right, we had a motion, we had a second. City Clerk, if you would call the roll.
My apologies, I didn't hear who seconded the motion.
Second.
Commissioner McGurk did. He was pretty quiet in it.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes,
Thank you.
that has been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Item 8C, 104-20, second reading, which would propose a number of administrative updates to Article 10 subdivisions and Article 11 site plans of the LDRs. City Attorney will read this ordinance second time by title only.
Ordinance number 10420, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 10 subdivisions and Article 11 site plans, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
I like when somebody says, it's gonna be just like, not really plugged into the local scene. Sorry. Mr. Fields, do you have a report on this item?
Very brief, Mayor. This is some administrative updates to our land development regulations. A lot of these items that are changing here are practices that we're already doing that we really just need to bring the code up to standard. Code's based on a very paper-based system, multiple Mylar sets, paper hard copies submitted. We're moving to all electronic. We've also cleaned up some of the timelines in here. Not a lot of new policy. We are working on some policy procedural changes. One item that does change that I'll point out is that the maintenance bond in subdivisions, we currently have a 1-year requirement. So that is at the end of subdivision construction, the improvements that are dedicated to the city, we get a 1-year maintenance bond. So anything goes wrong in that 1 year, the developer's on the hook, or we call that bond. That 1 year is a fairly short period, only gets you through one storm season, so it's low compared to other agencies. So we bumped that up to 2 years. That is no cost to the city to do that. That does go to the developer to carry that bond for another year, but we think that's well worth it. So other than that, the changes are listed in the staff report, and be glad to take any questions.
All right, it's a public hearing. We'll hear from the public first. Any members of the public wish to speak on this item? Yes, sir, come ahead.
Nick Powell, 3506 Venetian Villa Circle. Quick question, in the text, who is the administrative official currently?
Be the city manager.
In other words, all paperwork's going to you? All right. Next question is, I commend you for reducing the review time from 30 to 20 days, and also increasing the resubmittal time for an applicant for, I think it's 120 to 180, 190, something like that. When the applicant doesn't meet the resubmittal timelines, there's late fees, new application processes, all sorts of other hoops that the applicant have to jump through. What, if any, are sort of ramifications if the staff doesn't meet the 20-day review time frame?
I think that depends on the situation and the reason for that. I think it's, these are, I'd say, targets for staff. In some cases, there are statutory review times on certain types of permits that those would apply, so it would depend on the situation.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other members of the public wish to speak on this item, item 8C? Seeing none, we'll close the public participation or public hearing portion and have discussion by the commission. If no questions or comments, we'll take a motion. Do I have a motion on this item?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second the item.
Did you have a comment too? No. All right.
No.
City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clutie?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 8D, second reading and public hearing of an ordinance which, if adopted, would grant a non-exclusive construction roll-off service franchise to Precision Containers. City Attorney will read this ordinance second time by title only.
Ordinance number 10820, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach granting a non-exclusive franchise to Precision Containers and Cleanup LLC to provide construction and demolition debris removal services within the City of New Smyrna Beach, outlining franchisees' duties, providing terms and conditions under which such franchise shall operate, providing for severability, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
All right. We will hear from staff first. if staff is back there. Then we'll hear, Mike, I'll get to you in a second.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission.
Good
This is a little bit unusual request, but the part that's before the Commission tonight is just the franchise agreement that is similar to all of the other franchises for removing construction and construction-related debris materials. So this is your second reading. And Amy's here if you have any other questions, but the part I understood you were addressing tonight was just the franchise agreement.
It's just the franchise agreement is on the agenda tonight. That is correct. I think there's other business we'll have to take care of eventually with Precision Containers. But all right, thank you for that. I believe the applicant is here. Do you have any comments, or are you just here available for questions? Or
Michael Lyons on behalf of Precision Container. I'm available for questions. I do have a signed copy of the agreement that was proposed in the agenda for this evening.
okay. All right, this is a public hearing, so any member of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, we will close the public portion. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 108-20?
So moved.
Second.
Seeing no comments, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Sacks,
Yes.
Commissioner Clody,
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman,
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Owen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 108-20 is adopted. If you want to leave that with Kelly, it'll be fine. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mike. All right, let's see, that's 108. Number one, item 8E, 109-20, second reading, public hearing, which would amend Chapter 26, the Building Code floodplain regulations. The city attorney will read that ordinance a second time by title only.
Ordinance number 10820, and, oh, I'm sorry, that's the last one.
109-20, yeah.
Ordinance number 10920, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 26, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 2, Standards and Specifications, to adopt and amend administrative and technical amendments to the Florida Building Code, and Article 8, Floodplain Management, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Okay, Brian, do you have a report on this one?
Yes, the city periodically updates our floodplain management guidelines in the city code to comply with the latest regulations under the National Flood Insurance Program, along with the Florida Building Code. Our continued compliance with these standards helps the city maintain a high rating in the FEMA's community rating system. Having that high rating helps homeowners by being able to have lower flood insurance rates. So some of the notable revisions here, and they are outlined in the staff report, but I think one is that buildings located in the floodplain, we currently require those to be elevated, the finished floor, 1 foot above what's called the base flood elevation. That's the 100-year flood elevation. We're currently 1 foot. We're bumping that up to 2 feet with this regulation. That is recommended to protect homes. The existing 1 foot standard is on the low end compared to other jurisdictions. Even non-coastal cities in Florida, 18 inches to 2 feet is certainly normal. Some are up to 3 feet. This also, and this is important, it provides some buffer so that the next iteration of the FEMA map, if it raises that base flood elevation, then homes that were built today at the 1 foot would now be below that base flood and would be considered in the floodplain. So someone buying a home today thinks they're good, they're above it. With sea level rise and the way the storms are occurring, we're anticipating that base flood elevation will rise, and we're trying to stay ahead of that. Second item that's important here is related to new development, and it's for floodplain compensating storage. So this is only applicable to sites that are more than 1 acre in size, because we did not want to affect the existing homeowner on the existing lot. On compensating storage, if you have a property that's in the floodplain and the developer wants to fill in the floodplain, currently it's basically 1 for 1. You fill in a gallon, you have to provide a new gallon on that site. What this would do is make it, if you fill a gallon, you have to provide 1.5 gallons on site. So And then it would also limit the total impact to not more than 50% of the existing floodplain. The goal here is to incentivize development to protect and leave the existing floodplain in its natural state where we think it's most effective. There are a number of other changes here in the code. Kyle's here. A lot of these are driven by the national standards that we're coming up to. There are some policy changes. Those are the two most notable. Sure. There was one case, Mayor, you may remember last year, where we had a homeowner that the cost of his improvements, as far as being substantial, was for the lifetime of the structure. We're narrowing that down to the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So if this were in place, it would have helped that homeowner, but at least going forward, we've addressed that situation. Again, these guidelines strengthen flood resistance. Staff recommends approval. Kyle is here as well to address any questions with me.
Okay. It's a public hearing. We'll open it to any members of the public that wish to comment on this item. Sir, come ahead. I thought you might be sticking around for this one.
Do I need to say my name again?
You don't have to be sworn in on this one, so you're fine.
All right, good. Who is the current floodplain administrator? Is it Kyle?
Is that listed? Yeah, Kyle.
Be Kyle. All right. And then I know this is the second hearing, so I missed the first one, obviously. Did the city hire a consultant or any type of floodplain expert besides just city staff to kind of come up with the factor of safety and all the kind of numbers like that? I mean, I know other cities are implementing. I'm just curious.
This is done with in-house staff.
In-house staff. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other members of the public? Yes, sir. Come ahead. But hustle. It's getting late.
Randy Herman, 108 Esther. It's a question with the 2 feet requirement. One of the things I've been seeing in Beachside, a lot of the newer construction seems to be putting more than 2 feet, and I don't even know if they're in floodplains. My question is, how does this affect the height limits, which I think comes from another ordinance? My concern is overall, if we do what sounds like we need to do about the water, we then affect our skyline and scape. Thank you.
I think height is finished floor, right? So.
Yeah, height is from finished floor. It's in the land development regulations. So for most areas are 35 feet, so that would bump it a foot higher unless we took action to address that separately.
Yeah. Okay. Any other public hearing comments? Okay. If not, any discussion by the commission? Commissioner Colodi?
Yes, you mentioned the 2 foot above the base flood elevation. That's in the high hazard areas. I'm looking at line 229, which deals with the AO zones and that type. It looks to me it still says 1 foot.
What line was that?
220. It begins at 229. It's item number 2 on that page, bottom of that page.
Ask Kyle to address that AO zone.
Yes.
Should be 2 feet.
On the firm plus 1 feet. Shall have the lowest floor, elevated height above the highest adjacent grade of not less than the depth specified in feet on the firm plus 1 foot.
This is line 231.
Yeah, 231. Okay. Good question. I mean, I think if it's a Scrivener error, then staff can correct that even if it's approved tonight, I would say, but. Other questions or comments?
That should be 2. We'll confirm that, though.
Okay. Good
Well,
catch.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah.
Because I am familiar with this. And there's somewhere else in here, and I didn't write it down, where it does go through the various other classifications of the A zones.
They cross the one and they have the two, like on line 234, on line 227. I mean, it's
Yeah.
obvious they crossed the one and have the two, so that must be a typo on the other one.
Okay. Any other comments while he's looking? We'll come back to him if needed. Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question and a comment. I've been focused on global sea rise. I realize it's real. Doing the bit of study that I can, when I can, NOAA, NASA has just sent up another satellite to measure actual global sea rise. In our city, we realize it is the backcountry, our high hazard zones, Spruce Creek drainage, the several drainage areas go way out west. So it affects the water table and everything. And I believe that you may be doing the right thing by increasing that height. My one concern, I can't stop the ocean, but the concern is if we raise the height, does it further hurt the existing homes that are at the lower level? Boy, what a challenge to try to solve.
So that is a challenge. What we're going to do is, and we're looking at it right now, is the land development regulations on grading of adjacent lots to make sure that we have the rules in place to prevent adverse impact from, further raising structures by fill or other methods to make sure those homeowners are protected to the extent possible.
Will they be required or have the choice, or will they be required to build stem wall
Yes.
as well?
Yes is required, or yes have a
Yes,
choice?
required.
Yes, required.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
That's good.
Existing subdivisions, that's where the problem is, especially if you have a lot between two houses. So that's why we actually made the stem wall as a requirement to protect the both lots on both sides.
Commissioner McGurk.
So I have mixed feelings about this. Part of this is, there's some good aspects of it, and then there's some not so good. Kind of a pig in a poke. It's wrapped up in stuff that sounds real good, things we want to hear about, dealing with sea level rise. There's a lot of homes outside these walls right here that have been built for decades in this community that are below the base flood elevation. And as the base flood elevation continues to go up, more and more homes will be under the base flood elevation, which means a whole lot of things, including when people buy a home, nobody knows the due diligence they're going to need to do to understand what they can and can't do with their property, including adding on or doing a significant renovation. The costs, right now you do the National Flood Insurance Program, it's very minimal. It's tremendously underfunded, it's going to go up. But the amount you can get funded has been fixed for many years and has not gone up, which means if you're below the base flood elevation and you need excess flood, you're going to pay thousands of dollars for that excess flood. So this does a lot of things that are not necessarily intended. You're going to create, for example, if you have some of the interagency government bureaucratic stuff that the average person is going to get caught in, is you buy a historic home. We don't want you to be able to tear down a historic home. The historic home is below the base flood elevation. Someone buys that. Number one, they cannot do any kind of extensive, they cannot increase the home by more than 299 feet, number one. And number two, if this home is sitting below the base flood elevation, they got a big problem. So again, the cost of maintaining that home can go up incredibly. So there's a lot to this that is not necessarily easy to read in these documents. This community is going to be deeply affected by this because most of the homes in this community were built decades ago. And even as Brian pointed out, there's homes that were built not too long ago where you built this new home 15, 20 years ago to the base flood elevation. And then it goes up, you're outside of it. So we have a lot of these kinds of issues that we're going to have to work out and deal with, and they're not easy. And they're certainly not as easy as something that is packaged and sounds good in a report with all the best and latest and greatest buzzwords. So there's aspects of this that are good, and there's aspects of it that have pretty significant consequences to private property owners and homeowners that don't really understand what's going on here. So I want to share that concern.
So I've heard that this is going to drive building costs up. But in reality, we're talking another layer of block on a stem wall and an extra little bit of fill, etc. I was one of those people that years ago had a home that didn't require, they changed the flood level, and then I was required to have flood insurance, which was about the same time I tried to sell that house, and I really had problems then. So I can understand what we're trying to do. And we're constantly hearing from the public that sea level is rising, we're flooding, what are you going to do? And I think here we're trying to take a proactive approach to this. And where I agree with Commissioner McGurk that I think it has some consequences that we may not all realize now, but at some point probably will. I think it's a good effort by staff, so I could support this.
I'll make a few comments. So I agree with everything that's kind of been said. Earlier in this agenda, we had a proposal for $400,000 for a lot to solve flooding on one street. Not even solve, we don't even know if it's solved, but just to try to help on one street. So I think we are trying to take a proactive approach. It does have impacts. We received an email, it's public record, so we received an email from a local builder earlier today. I say we all got it. We didn't correspond about it, but we all got the same email. I asked the builder, I said, what would that impact be? Like, what would that extra little bit of dirt and block, et cetera? The estimate was somewhere in the $3,000 to $4,000 per home, which is probably going to go up as dirt gets harder to find, et cetera. And so, you know, we talk about affordable housing, we talk about all those factors, and this is a part of it. So, and I also, it's eerie timing, because I had literally sent staff an email about the similar topic. You talked about the grading, and I sent them an example earlier today of a house. I said, this is going to flood the adjoining house. Like, how are we making sure we're building in such a way that we're not, as the new property owner follows the rules, they're not punishing the old property owner right beside them. So, but question for staff, was there any dialogue with the trades, any local builders, local trades folks about this change and the impact, and what was that feedback and discussion like?
Had some question and feedback from Hickson Construction, who's a local home builder, has built a lot of units, had some questions, and then based on our answers, I think they were satisfied that that they could build even on these infill ones, and that this would not set them back quite a bit. And nothing other than him, at least, that came to me that I know of.
And was that just once the agenda was published, like lately, or was that kind of through the process as you?
First reading.
Okay, after first reading, got it. So I couldn't tell where you landed based on your comments. I don't know whether you support it or not. As a true politician, like a true politician. So, but I think I'm right there with you. I support it. I think this is moving in the right direction. I think it's taking the proactive step we need to. I am a bit worried about unintended side effects, to steal your phrase. I'm worried. Is there something we're missing? Is there some impact that we're not catching beyond just the material? I mean, there's the $3,000 or $4,000 per home is what it is, and that's real money. But homes are still selling. So yeah, I think I support it, but I am worried about unintended side effects.
I don't think there is any ordinance out there that you could have without having unintended consequences. And I agree with Commissioner McGurk that the problem is going to be where you have existing homes who they're trying to do whether a remodeling or addition, and I think you're going to have an issue there. So I think overall, I think it kind of addresses some of the issues that we talked about early when the commission actually got elected in terms of the wetlands and the floodplain and some of the issues we've seen with the commercial projects. But to tell you that we're not going to have any consequences, I would be lying to you. I think we will have some issues. If you were asking if we talked to the general builders, I don't think we did. I think we talked to a few, but we did not consult with the majority of them.
Okay. And that's, that's fine in some ways, but it is helpful sometimes just, it helps to mitigate some of those unintended side effects. I'm not saying everybody walks out of that room agreeing, but we at least maybe don't get blindsided by something that we could have seen if we had talked to a few more people. So I saw a hand up and I'll come back to you. Commissioner Colodi, go ahead.
Did we resolve that first issue? Was that a Scribner's error?
That should be 2 feet, so.
Okay,
Thank you for that.
Good. And we can just make that change now.
Okay.
And you'll email me the exact language?
Yeah, it's line 229, just needs to say 2 feet where it says 1 foot.
229, 231 in
Or
that
231,
area
yeah.
there.
Commissioner Sachs, you had a comment?
Thank you,
Well,
Mr.
not
Mayor.
done.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Hey, I just want to remind everybody, is we're not changing any flood elevations. They're set by the federal government.
Right.
Basically, what we're dealing with is new construction and people that want to renovate their homes by more than 50%. So yes, there will be some effect on infill properties on adjoiners, and we'll just have to deal with that technically. But this will protect the future homeowners from having damage, basically.
Yeah.
And they will have the lower insurance rates. But it doesn't change the flood elevations at all.
Yeah.
That's not our business.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sachs, Vice Mayor Sachs, sir.
Thank you. So I was listening to Commissioner McGurk and thinking we're unintended, with unintended consequences, we're creating winners and losers. Our effort is to raise up homes and lessen damage from the rising waters. That's a big concern, but I think the effort, I'm glad you have the expertise to bring that plan forward. Have you had any conversations with global sea rise scientists who have studied coasts and the waters that they affect?
We did a sea level rise study last year, and I mean, when you project out to the 80, 100 years from now, I mean, those levels were 5 to 8 feet above where we are. So we're not proposing that. That's why this is more of an incremental approach. Is now is a good time to go from what, when I first came here and I saw the 1 foot, my reaction was that's substandard. So I would look at this more as we're just bringing ourselves up to a current standard, and we need to monitor that sea level rise and just perhaps move up incrementally so we don't have a detrimental impact to existing or future homeowners.
Is it a true statement that people with the new elevation might pay less flood insurance premiums and those in the lower areas pay higher? So those unintended consequences, right?
Yeah, but they're not.
We can't make it perfect.
The people in the low are not going to pay higher because we've raised this and because the other homes are being built at 2, though. I think it's just, they're going to pay less. Just like if you go buy a brand new 2020 Volvo that's the safest car on the road versus my 1990 Jalopy, I'm going to pay more in car insurance than you are, from a safety premium standpoint. So but my insurance rate isn't impacted by the fact that you're in a better car. It's just the fact that my car is what it is. So the insurance rates of the low-lying person is going to be what they're going to be. And then if we raise it, we have an opportunity for those people to pay a little less. Is that an accurate, you agree with that?
We are class 6. you will get 20% reduction on the flood insurance, the premium. So regardless if you are low or high, if you have a flood insurance and you are in the city of New Smyrna Beach, you will get 20% discount.
Mr. McGurk?
2 clarifications. What I'm reading is not 50%, it's 299 square feet. Used to be 50%, we're changing that to 299 square feet. Yes, Commissioner Sachs, the people who are below the base flood elevation will not only pay more, it will be thousands of dollars more. My excess flood insurance alone is $3,800. So as now, Vice Mayor Colodey's correct in that the federal government is raising the base flood elevation. They're the ones who start this. We're just going along. So when I say that this is very complex, it is very complex. But we're certainly contributing to this problem, and all I'm trying to do is point out, hey, this isn't all roses. And we're doing things that are going to dramatically affect people's home, what they can do with it, and how much it's going to cost them to get flood insurance. And the National Flood Insurance Program is so underfunded that it's expected to have, it's artificially lowered right now. And Congress has had to fight the issue of it's so underfunded that one day that it would just to get the basic national flood policies that you're getting could go up exponentially just to get to the proper funding amount, not including excess flood policy. So anyway, it's a complicated issue.
Just a question for you, because maybe I'm misunderstanding something, but this isn't linked to that in that that's going to happen. The price of that flood insurance and all of that is going to happen at the federal level based on what they do with the base flood elevation. Whether or not we adjust this from 1 foot to 2 foot to 20 feet, is that a correct statement, or do you?
Well, we are increasing the base flood elevation from 1 foot above base to 2 feet above.
No.
Just to clarify,
Go ahead, Brian.
so the base flood elevation is a set elevation that FEMA, the federal government, determines. What we're saying is that for future construction, instead of being a foot above that, you have to be 2 feet above that. That base flood is not changing with this. What we're anticipating is that at some point, the federal government may raise that. So we want to keep as many people as possible outside of that floodplain because it's expensive and it may be unfunded.
Yes, and so, yeah, what we're increasing is what the city's requirement is.
Right. For where we require people to build above and beyond the federal standard.
So what's going to affect us, what will affect our people specifically, directly, is the 299 square foot. Now, indirectly, yes, the bigger picture of this is that the national base flood elevation and where that's at. So
yeah, which is beyond we don't control that.
Right. So I don't pretend to know this perfectly, but it's complicated. Yeah. But yes, if we're requiring someone to be 2 feet above the base flood elevation, and then they can only build at 299 square feet if they're below that.
So the 299, just to clarify, is for enclosed areas below the design flood elevations. This would be like a crawl space, basement, or something like that. It's just capping that, so there's, for that particular one.
I thought it was a finished home. In other words, if I want to add an addition, if I'm not at, if I'm below the base flood elevation,
you will fall, if you want to add to your house, you would fall under the threshold for FEMA, which is the 50% of the value of the structure. The 299 that's mentioned here, it's anything that it's inhabitable. So it's like a crawl space or anything like that. That would be the limit of the 299. But the addition that you're talking about, it would fall under the threshold, which is the 50%.
Thank you for the clarification.
And also, Commissioner McGurk, the 1 and 2 feet they're talking about, that's called freeboard, which means you are above the the 100-year flood elevation.
Thank you for the
And so the 50%, because Brian and I had we had a citizen we worked with sometime last year on this because it was prior to this language, but basically what that says is if you got a home, let's say it's on Beachside and it's valued at $500,000, the cumulative cost over a 10-year period of the renovations that are done can be up to $250K. So what we're trying to stop is someone coming in and, doing all but the last, leaving one post and then rebuilding the whole house around it to bypass this rule. But that leaves you a lot of aperture to rebuild half of a home in some ways over a 10-year period, so. Without having to raise it to the new.
50% of the structure,
50%
not
of the
50% of the
value,
property.
the value.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Not
good
the
point,
property,
good point, yeah.
And who determines the value?
It's determined by the property appraisal office, so when you look, you have the property listed at $1 million, but the structure itself is valued, say, like at $300,000. So the 50% of the $300,000.
Yeah, property appraiser is way undervalued. I don't want to admit that publicly, but
You did.
I mean, I'm gonna get myself in trouble here, but.
Not your property.
Yeah, my
Just
property
in
is over,
general.
but usually, yeah.
So in the past, people have contested that, so they actually got their own appraisal on the structure, so.
All right, so there's a lot to this. It's-
And is there, last question I have, and then we can hopefully put this to bed and either continue it or do something with it. Brian, is there any, if someone's in a tight spot on this, related to this improvement thing, like they're trying to do the right thing, it makes perfect sense, but they're bumping into something, is there an avenue? Does staff have some power? Do we have some power? I mean, I know we have power, but is there an avenue for this?
It's not a land development regulation, so you wouldn't get a variance. The building trade board would be an appeal. Or you're saying if somebody wanted to do less than the 2 feet and just couldn't do it and wanted to appeal?
Well, that, or I was thinking with this, this improvement thing. So somebody's bought a property and they're trying to make some renovations, and it's, they're doing all kitchen renovations, and it's just gonna cost a lot more, but they're really not trying to skirt the rules and change the flood elevation, et cetera. So is there an avenue they had? If they're at 51% and this is 50, what options do they have?
The only choice is variance, really. I mean, unless if it has to do with the building code, then they go to building trade.
Yeah.
But if it
Okay.
has to do with the land development regulation itself, then the only option there it's the variance.
And just for clarity, last thing, this is actually an improvement over what we have today as far as the
Yes.
standard we have today. This gives them more aperture.
Yes.
Yeah. Because
Gives more flexibility to the homeowner.
Yeah, because the gentleman we helped, we didn't even have this, and he was bumping into it, and you're right, he hadn't done the due diligence. I don't think anyone would have done the due diligence to know that was the rule, and so he bought this home thing, and they're gonna be able to totally redo all this stuff. But staff was able to help him and figure out what qualified and et cetera, so. All right, gentlemen, do we have a motion on item 109-20?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve with that minor correction from 1 to 2 feet.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
we have a motion and a second. We've had plenty of discussion. City Clerk, if you would call the roll, please.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
No.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. McGurk?
Yes.
That was a no.
All right, item passed. But I do think we have to keep our finger on the pulse of that. Let's make sure if we messed up, we can fix it quickly, so. I don't think we messed up, but I'm saying if there's something we
If we have
missed.
any major issues, we'll
Yeah,
come back.
if we created some issue, we can come back to it. Item 8F, ordinance 111-20, city attorney. This is a first reading, but this item requires a public hearing and a vote on the first and second reading since it is a change in use. So this is a little bit different. City attorney, if you'll read this one a first time by title only.
Ordinance number 11120, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 2 definitions, Section 201, general definitions, to add the definition of mobile food dispensing vehicles, amending Article 5 zoning district, Section 50402, specific regulations by district to add mobile food dispensing vehicles as a permitted use in the I-1 industrial zoning district. Amending Article 8 supplementary regulations, Section 80101, to clarify prohibited uses within the city, providing for codification, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
All right, it's just a first reading, but Brian, do you have a brief report?
I do. Would you like me to go over it, or you just want to go straight to the hearing tonight?
Let's just go through the hearing, and if we have questions,
Okay.
we'll raise them up, because we've got it in front of us, everyone's read it. So, it's a public hearing. Does any member of the public wish to comment on this item only? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion to adopt 111-20? Let's get a motion done, and then if there's questions, we can take them.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions of staff on this item? Seeing none, City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
No.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, this item is approved on first reading, and the second reading and public hearing will be conducted on January 12th, 2021. Next item is also a first reading, but it requires a public hearing and a vote on the first and second since it is a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment. Item 8G, City Attorney will read the ordinance. It's first time by title only.
Ordinance number 11520, an ordinance amending the City of New Smyrna Beach Comprehensive Plan, changing the future land use designation of 10 plus or minus acres located south of State Road 44, east of South Walker Drive, from city commercial to city conservation, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps, providing for required transmittals, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
All right, this is a public hearing. Let's let them go first. Any members of the public wish to comment on this item and this item only? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Bob, do you have a report on this?
We do have a report, but we'll just be willing to accept any questions that the commission may have and have a full report at the second reading.
All right, any questions on this item? Do we need a report? Go ahead, Commissioner Colodi.
Basically, what we're doing is the same thing to this property that we did to the larger tract we bought, Turnbull Trace, correct?
That is correct. It's the next parcel that was purchased, so we're moving forward with the same type of zoning and future land uses.
Thank you.
Okay. If no other discussion, do we have a motion to adopt ordinance 115-20?
Second.
So we'll take a motion by McGurk, second by Commissioner Hartman. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Colodi?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 115-20 is approved on first reading. Second reading and public hearing will be on January 12th, 2021. Item 8H, this also is a first reading, but same thing. It requires a first and second vote. Since it is a large-scale comp plan, City Attorney will read this on a first time by title only.
Ordinance number 11720, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, amending Chapter 10, Recreation and Open Space element to provide updated information, providing for public hearings, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date.
All right, this is a public hearing. Any members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Do I have a motion to adopt ordinance 117-20?
I'll make that motion for discussion.
Motion for discussion. Do I have a second for discussion?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner McGurk. Commissioner Colodi?
I reviewed the entire thing. I'm glad to see we're well within the accepted guidelines, and we meet most of the open space requirements and the recreational requirements. However, if my memory serves me correctly, we forgot to include the skate park facilities in the schedule. That it's property we own. Also, there's a lacking of facilities west of 95, which is something I'm sure we're going to talk about tomorrow. And when we get our recreational review back. So can we move ahead and just verify that the skate park's in there? I got to put my glasses on.
Inventory. It's listed under the park inventory list.
Okay, I see it. I missed that.
Skate park. Yeah, I see it.
And I do have one general question, is within a lot of the PUDs, the new ones were requiring usable public access. Should they be included in our listing? Just thinking of one of the last things we did, there was a number of little pocket parks in there. Granted, they are technically not available to the public, but they are available to people other than just those adjoining. And I don't think that you're going to get chased out of them. And we do include a number of facilities that we don't own, such as the Marine Discovery Center and the beach itself. Should we give some consideration to those properties being added? Doesn't have to be done now, but for future discussion.
Brian, any comments on that, or Bob?
Private facilities, would offer that our focus is our public level of service. So including some of those, for example, west of 95 might show or lead to indicating that we have a higher level of public park service over there when we in fact do not. So probably recommend we exclude the private facilities that are HOA owned but still open to the public, but those could be added if desired.
Okay, and that's something we could address in any future PUDs that come up.
We could. That
these open areas, which I've requested that they provide open usable areas, then they would go on the listing at that time.
Okay.
Okay. Those
Quick
are my
question,
comments.
Mr. Mayor.
You're all finished, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
Brian, is Spyglass Pier included in that inventory?
Let's check that real quick.
I don't believe that is listed on the list because it's not definitely considered as a park. Even though it is appear to be fishing, it's at the end of a right-of-way, so it's not actually listed as a park in our list.
But it's in, by virtue of this ordinance, we would do the repairs and replace it?
Well, we own the right-of-way, and so we own the dock that's attached to it, but it's not on our park list. There's not an acreage of it because it's actually right-of-way instead of an actual public park.
And just to be clear, and Brian or Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong, but this particular ordinance, what we're dealing with right now, wouldn't change the status of that one way or the other. It's not bringing it in or excluding it or anything. This is just a list of park inventory, and it's not considered a park. And I was trying to come up with some other examples of things that were not included here, that, you know, things like a dock stuck somewhere. But no, nothing that we're doing tonight would change the status of Spy. I know you have some contentions on whether or not we own it, so this isn't changing that. It's not including it, subterfuging that in any way.
And it is considered a major update as we're doing to our entire comprehensive plan, but it doesn't limit us to have any minor updates in the future if something arises that we need to change for minor updates.
Thank
you. Okay.
Because my question would be, depending upon the master park plan, some of these things may change anyway. So, so this is just a text amendment to the comp plan, right?
Correct. This is a very thin 8 or 10 page kind of the
Right.
overall level of service. That Parks Master Plan, which is, you know, we're well underway on, is, you know, a 100+ page document that's going to look at each park and evaluate in detail and have a schedule of improvements. So
Okay.
this is more the introduction.
Yeah. All right. We had a motion and a second, if I recall correctly. Unless someone corrects me. All right. City Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Vice Mayor Sacks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clody?
Yes.
Commissioner Hartman?
Yes.
Commissioner McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Owen?
Yes. Ordinance 117-20 is approved on first reading. The second reading will be on January 12th, 2021. That leads us to Carrie's Time to Shine, first readings. Take us home.
Ordinance number 11220, an ordinance annexing into the city of New Smyrna Beach, .43 plus or minus acres of property located north of Washington Street between Howard Avenue and Oak Street. addressed as 1309 Washington Street, providing for redefining boundaries of the city, designating the property within Commission Zone 4, providing for public hearing, providing for required filings, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be January 12, 2021. Ordinance number 11320, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the comprehensive plan, changing the future land use designation of .43 plus or minus acres of land located north of Washington Street between Howard Avenue and Oak Street, addressed as 1309 Washington Street, from Volusia County urban medium intensity to city medium density residential, providing for amendment of the associated comprehensive plan maps to show the area incorporated into the city, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be January 12, 2021. Ordinance number 11420, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning .43 plus or minus acres of property located north of Washington Street between Howard Avenue and Oak Street, addressed as 1309 Washington Street, from Volusia County R4A, urban single-family residential airport overlay, to city R2A, single-family residential airport overlay zoning district, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be January 12, 2021. Ordinance number 11620, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach rezoning 10 plus or minus acres of property located south of State Road 44, east of Walker Drive, from City B3 Highway Service Business to City Conservation Zoning District, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The second reading and public hearing will coincide with the comprehensive plan amendment once we hear back from the state. So to be determined. Ordinance number 11820, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, vacating a portion of 10-foot wide public alley located in the Inwood subdivision adjacent to 214 North Myrtle Avenue and 610 Washington Street, providing for conflicting ordinances and providing for an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be January 12, 2021. Ordinance 11920, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Officers and Employees, to revise Section 2, 147, Access to City Officials, and create a new Section 2, 148, Land Use Matters, to establish consistency with Florida Statute 286.0115, 2020, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be January 12, 2021. Ordinance number 12020, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach authorizing the Utilities Commission, City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, to execute and enter into a joint pole use agreement with Bell South Telecommunications, LLC, doing business as AT&T, for a term exceeding 4 years, providing for a public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Second reading and public hearing will be January 12, 2021.
Is that it?
That is it.
Oh, what timing. I was hoping to stand for a minute. All right. So that leads us to boards and commissions, but we continued that item. So that leads us to mayor and commission reports. We will begin with the vice mayor, work our way this way and loop back to Commissioner Colodi. Vice Mayor Sachs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to take this opportunity. It is often said in these very trying and, in my opinion, dangerous times, our city staff has acted in an exemplary fashion. They put their lives in jeopardy sometimes, especially public safety. Our nurses, our doctors, healthcare workers, even people that work in our offices, when they're dealing with the public, we're all exposing ourselves to something that's unknown. And even the scientists will admit there is much we still don't know about COVID. I'm hopeful for a very soon vaccine to come along, but I would stress, it is just my opinion, based on what I've learned about the disease, that a mask really helps. You know, washing your hands really helps, and social distancing. And I notice our city is really getting on the ball. At first, we didn't have much buy-in, but people are realizing, yes, this can affect me, my child, my grandparent. And so we're getting, we see the light through the woods. There's a glade, and hopefully we'll get there very soon. But again, my greatest thanks to the people who were doing this dangerous job in the first place, now made more dangerous by COVID. I don't know how they handle it, what strength they draw upon, but I want to praise them and pray for them and thank them. Other than that, I have nothing of import. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The good news tonight is, if you forget it, we're back here tomorrow at 9 a.m. Yeah, for 12 hours or something. No, it's not that bad. Commissioner McGurk, you're up.
I don't have anything to say other than I want to wish you all and everybody out there listening Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and be safe.
Commissioner Hartman.
So I actually had a comment on 9F, which I apologize.
Oh, I wasn't here for that.
Yeah,
I don't think you were either, actually.
No.
Go ahead.
So there's language in there that deals with the pension board appointees and stuff, and it's not consistent with what the language for the actual pension ordinances say. So I think that we should follow one or the other, and I would recommend that we follow the pension board ordinance, or the pension ordinance, as to how the members of the pension board are nominated or elected. So, because as it is, I think according to the pension ordinance, it says that it will be appointed by the city commission, where this particular language in 9F says it will be or shall be the commissioners. So that leaves a little bit of change there. So,
Oh, city commission shall appoint from its membership 2 members to serve ex officio.
yeah,
Is that the section you're talking about?
that's what I'm talking about. But the pension ordinance specifically says is that the commission will appoint 2 members.
Correct. I don't read them to be inconsistent. So you have one that
Right.
says the commission does, but then this one says, okay, you're going to appoint 2 members from the city commission. So I think what you may be asking for is removing the restriction that it be 2 city commissioners.
Yes,
From this place.
from this place.
So you want us to be able to appoint
2 people.
2 people?
Right.
Okay. You just want off of it, is that what, you can just tell us. if
No,
that's-
I don't want off of it, but I know some others do. Well,
Okay. Let me ask you, is that something, Carrie, that we can debate at second reading, and if the majority agrees, we strike it then, or do we need
Well,
to?
I would rather do it as a separate ordinance because the real intent of the ordinance that I just read is to deal with our ex parte.
ex
So
parte,
that's
yeah.
the subject of it. The only reason that's listed there is we're renumbering. But if there's a commission will, 3 or more of you who would like me to work on revising what will be the new 2-149 to loosen it up, or, we can look to see, I could have Heather help me, if Colin's okay with that, to figure out what other cities do in terms of their pension board. But we could work on revisions to that. But I would recommend that you do it as a separate ordinance, since it's not the topic of this particular ordinance.
And so would you just basically strike the 2-149 from this one, and then we
No,
just move?
I'd leave this, I'd let it go, and then the next one, once we have the information, it would be a new ordinance amending 2-149 to make it however you all see fit.
Okay, I'm okay with that. So I'm hearing at least 2. Do I have another one? So let this one ride, we can amend this one if we choose to bring that back up.
Do you mind if I speak to commissioners?
Sure.
Real quick, because you bring up a good point. Sometimes I feel, as being a member of the pension board, as conflicted, and not as being an ex-firefighter working, for a pension. I don't know. It seems, it may be unfair to say, but it's almost like the fox in the hen house, that we have to oversee these monies, yet we also oversee the coffers of the cities, the taxpayers. Is there a conflict? And what requires us to be on those boards?
Well, kind of the point of this is that we've taken great strides in the last couple of years to try to make board appointments for people who have certain qualifications or, standards or education, so that we're actually getting probably the best people on those boards. I'm not saying that any of us may not be the best. I'm just saying that we should have some options, that if there's somebody else in the community who has applied to be a pension board trustee, and they're a financial analyst or something along those lines, or has a degree in pension law, that may be a better appointment than one of us. So I would just like options.
Okay. So my suggestion is, sounds like we've got a few folks that this is rattling around for, so my suggestion is we approve, this one is going through first reading. At the second reading of this, bring it up. Let's see if we can get consensus from the commission to give staff some direction at that time. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
I was just going to take it as a separate item. I've got direction
Yeah,
from at
I'm
least
saying, but
three
let's
of
just,
you to.
we'll talk about it then, make a motion. I just don't want to make a motion during commission comments. So we'll
Gotcha.
just,
Understood.
we'll talk about it then, figure out if we've
Yeah,
got
no,
enough people.
that was not the intent.
No, I
Just
got it, yeah.
Bring it out for this discussion.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Still your time.
Hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a New Year. The rest of my comments I'll save for tomorrow.
Okay. Commissioner Colodi.
Yes, a couple items. I've received more than one complaint from residents over on Richmond about noise that originates from events held here. Currently, our ordinance, there's nothing specific about the Brannan Center, except that our general ordinance says that noise can be generated up to 10 o'clock at night. There's also provisions that if it's audible at a greater distance, that it shouldn't occur pretty much any time. There was an event recently where the noise went on to a while past 10 o'clock, and the authorities had to be called, us, to have them discontinue it. I think we should ask the staff to look into maybe restricting noise that comes from our outside deck area, because sound really travels far over water. I can hear things from a quarter mile away. Of course, I don't care, but in this case, it was bothersome to the residents. So I would ask that we authorize the manager just to look into those standards.
Because currently the lease agreement in this facility, it follows the noise ordinance, which to 10 p.m. So if you wanted to look at a different timing, then I need some direction from the commission.
Correct, and I'm not thinking about modifying the noise ordinance, but the rental agreements that we have here.
So let me make sure. So rental agreement says 10 p.m., which follows the noise ordinance. Sounds like what we had is just somebody that violated the rental agreement and the noise ordinance. So do we need to make a change, or are you just saying let's make sure we enforce that?
I think we should make a change.
To earlier than 10?
Yes, for noise generated outside of the building.
What he's asking is
just
for
in the
the
lease agreement, not necessarily the noise ordinance.
Correct.
So just in this lease agreement, back it up. I mean, what are you thinking? Like 9:30, 9? Like
I'm thinking 9 o'clock, but I would like a recommendation from the manager. I don't want to interfere. There are a number of places that have outside entertainment that are on the water. There's the Outriggers. When they first opened, they generated complaints, but they've abided by the ordinance now, and they're taking steps to control it. We're going to have a new outdoor facility, the River Deck, almost right next to us here. I don't want to interfere with the regulations that apply to them. Just for ours, we're the closest facility to the neighborhood in Richmond.
okay. Do you want me to open the floor for some other comments, or?
That's comment number one.
Okay.
Number two.
I'm saying, do you want me to get other commissioners' thoughts on that, or how do you want to?
Oh, I would like to have the commission authorize them to look into it.
Okay.
The manager.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be reluctant to try to go earlier than 10. I think it'll interfere with our ability to rent the facility, which is already underused. And so I think if the noise ordinance is 10 is pretty reasonable. I do say we make sure to enforce the 10, so I don't know that I would be in favor of it, but others, comments?
Yes, I'm just speaking for the outside portion. In fact, our lease agreement doesn't even state what the limits of the Brandon Center are. So I think we should look into that.
Okay. Other comments?
You know,
Go ahead.
certainly I don't think 10 o'clock is unreasonable, especially on the weekends. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. Has this been a chronic, ongoing issue, or do the people just not want noise past a certain time? I guess I'm trying to, before I make a decision, what's driving it? It seems to me it's just someone made some loud noise after 10 o'clock. Do the people want it before 10, or I'm not?
Well, it's from a few different people, but if you fall back to the next provision where it can't be audible, then you're into a position where you're asking an employee to go out and make a determination. Even our ordinance said any loud rhythmic noise is objectionable.
Yeah.
That I think if we make an attempt to limit the outside generated noise, that might appease the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should have bands set up on the patio past 10 o'clock, which, if that's not in our current agreement, then it should be. So I guess I could support having staff look at our current agreement. If you have suggested changes, it would help solve this, but I couldn't support going much before 10 because I'm afraid that would, I just don't want to get into that.
Makes it difficult, especially in here across the river. And the one that they complained, you know, they're right across from here on Richmond. And so, in a good night with wind, I think it's no
I
matter.
get it, yeah. I'm sure. And that's why I do support him. And it should be very clear. We made it very clear with the barn, you know, that they had to shut down events. And so, I mean, I think we should abide by those same standards. If noise ordinance is at 10, the bands have to come inside after 10, you know, so. And if there's a big party out there that's just raucous, it should come inside at 10, so. Commissioner Colodi, still your time.
Okay, I'll relate that information to the residents.
Okay.
Item number 2, I attended the Barracuda Bridge presentation by DOT, and a couple issues were brought up by the neighbors. One is Barracuda Bridge is going to be out of action for 18 to 24 months. Effectively, what that does, it means that you won't be able to take a golf cart from the mainland to beachside, because right now they have to go over that bridge because the speed limit on the North Causeway is 40 miles an hour, and that would violate the laws, so to speak. So that's an issue that's going to have to be worked out. Second issue is there's a section that's not included in the project between North Causeway and Middle Way. It's the part that has a median in it and really hasn't been maintained or taken care of other than mowing the grass and picking up the debris. There's also drainage issues on it. I would like to see that project extended over that. I don't think DOT would go along with that, so I would like us to consider participating in that. The third issue is once Barracuda Bridge is down, there will no longer be controlled access to the Venezia neighborhood through a traffic light or the Marine Discovery Center. DOT is currently exploring the possibility of a temporary light at Quayasisi and North Causeway, and I think if we have to apply some political pressure to them to add that, I think that we should. I know it very well because obviously I live there. So I can see when traffic backs up across that intersection that there will be a problem. At least some improvements to put in a turning lane would be in order. So that's that on that issue. I'll work with Colin on that. My last thing is masks. Colin has put forth some information during the Christmas on Canal was very helpful on our request. Well, we actually said they have to wear masks where you can't have social distancing, which doesn't occur in those type of events. Passed out things to all the booths to put signs up. I know that members of that organization did go to the various booths and ask them to wear masks. I just think that we should have a little continued effort to perhaps put please wear mask signs on the barricades where people walk in. They could be reused for all of our events. In fact, they could be used on Flagler, wherever we authorize these large groups of people. Obviously, we can't control it. I'm totally opposed to any type of enforcement on it, but I think the more we try to impress upon the public that would be good. Also, from a couple vendors, they would like us to provide maybe one sanitary station out there on the street. Some have it in their booths, but generally whoever is doing the organization does have a setup. Cruiser cars have their location. Christmas on Canal had a table set up in Christmas Park. It's a little extra work for us, but I think it goes a long way in the public perception. And just as a side note, I was out there during the morning on Christmas on Canal. There was probably about 90% of people wearing masks. They were our residents. Our residents tend to go in the morning. In the afternoon, when we were getting visitors from the outside of our city limits, the mask usage went down considerably. So I think if we just put those notices out there, it may help public safety in general. So I'll continue to work with Colin on that.
Okay. We started with you.
Thank you. I'm
Thank
done.
you. All right. I just have one thing real quick, and that is I spent some time Sunday, I think it was. I stopped by the gym COVID testing site, at the COVID testing site at the gym, and talked to a couple of folks that are there, the Army National Guards that are there, and the person running it, and they were extremely complimentary of staff, working with staff, David Ray and Shauna and the whole team that they'd worked with. I was impressed with the operation that I saw. It's a well-run machine. I've had numerous people that have, just in my circle of friends that have used the facility, and they've all had nothing but positive things to say. And really the only issue that I have had anyone contact me about, which was a valid issue, but we resolved, and that is of trying to avoid them queuing up in front of the Live Oak Cultural Center when seniors are trying to go into that center. So, but they had that well marked, and they have someone out trying to manage that. So these are folks that are visitors to our town. They're there. The gentleman I talked to is from Jacksonville. Some of those guardsmen have been away from their family for months now. Nursing staff, traveling nurses that are there. They're staying at a hotel, actually not here in New Smyrna. They were put up by their company somewhere else, but we appreciate them being there and appreciate staff working with them, and they were very complimentary. And the only other sites like that, they're private sites, but the only other state-run sites like that near us, the closest is, I think there's one in Jacksonville, he said, and then one much further south. So the fact that that is right here in our backyard for our citizens is a real positive thing, and I appreciate Kyle working to bring that in place, and then the staff work to make it work. So, and everything else can wait till tomorrow.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm always remiss. I always have more to say.
Yeah.
Would you please bear with me? I'd like to make a motion that we request our city attorney to review a right to clean water ordinance. This was passed in Orange County. It was a tremendous vote in the positive. It passed. I would like her to review it. It's an ordinance recognizing a right to clean water and a healthy Indian River lagoon, prohibiting activities which interfere with those rights, and providing for an effective date. So I hope this is not too onerous, but it will be a good reminder for all of us that we still need to do more to protect the river. And I'm looking for a second.
So.
This is just to review it, to see
Yeah.
if it's something feasible that we can do.
Yeah, so I got that same thing from a citizen. I don't know, did she send that to everyone, or maybe just, did you get that from a citizen?
I got this from
Everyone
a
got it?
citizen in DeLand, that lives in DeLand.
Yeah, I got it from Rebecca. She lives here in New Smyrna. She's part of the architectural thing, I think.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I hadn't even looked at it yet, to be honest with you. I'm glad you reminded me of it. So, I would say we look at it and have, Carrie, do you have a copy of this or no? You probably didn't get it. All right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any harm in having Carrie just take a peek at it. Don't spend a ton of time on it.
It's a 5-minute read.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily enforceable. I think it may be one of those, yeah, take a look at it so you can be ready to speak to it, and then as the rest of us review it, if we have questions, we can talk to you, but.
Thank you
Is
so
everybody
much.
okay with that? Just having her take a peek. It's a 5-minute read. We'll all read it and see if it's something we want to try to move forward.
So the dais is okay with this, you guys?
Yeah, I'm hearing no objections.
Okay. Thank you.
Interesting note, they just started selling for the first time, going on sale in December or January, I think it is. I just saw a headline. They're selling water futures. So you can buy oil futures, pork belly, you can buy all these other futures. One of the only commodities that had never been futurized, because we just never thought we would need it. But now clean, fresh water is now traded on the futures market, which tells you that the real money, which are the people that have all the experts, believe that water is going to become increasingly scarce. So, an interesting development in the financial world in the past week. So, city manager report.
Mayor, quick, just 3 comments. Number one is on 120 Flagler, which is the northwest corner of Flagler and Peninsula. I think I talked to you during briefings. The building is actually a contributed structure, which is a historic structure. So if there is any movement to demolish the building, obviously we have to go to the historic board or the city commission. So there is options that we might have to move the building. That obviously is costly and it's not as easy. But I just want to inform you that we're trying to make the offer to Scott at the price we talked about, but I just want to make sure that you understand that the structure is contributed structure. The second item on the testing site, I got contacted by the emergency manager from Volusia County, and they want to extend it to July. I don't think they're going to use it until July. I signed the agreement for them until July, but obviously if we have any vaccine before that, and we have received so many positive comments, as you said, from citizens and even outside. I have used it 4 times myself. The third item is, I just want to comment on Commissioner Colodi. We have installed sanitizing stations on Flagler and Canal already, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, city clerk's report.
No report, sir.
City attorney report.
I have one item. Just prior to Thanksgiving, there was a records request for personal cell phone bills of 3 commissioners. I worked with Kelly. The requester reached out to the Attorney General for the state and wanted to utilize, they have a mediation program. So we tried to go down that alley with mediation. However, it is my legal opinion that these are not public records. Since the city did not agree that these were public records, it wasn't ripe for mediation. Pat Gleason, who is the public records guru for the state, said that an option available to us is to request an Attorney General opinion on whether or not these are public records. So I'm here tonight asking for authority to request an AG opinion to determine whether personal cell phone bills become public records if you make a business call on your personal cell phone. It's my legal opinion that they are not. But to solve this dispute, we would be requesting a determination from the AG.
Any objection to Carrie pursuing that path as she has laid out and recommended? Hearing no objections, you're good to go.
That's all.
Any other comments? All right.
I'm curious though, that hasn't been done before.
I've been searching. To
And
me, I think it's such a clear-cut answer that they're not public records. That's why you can't find an opinion.
Right.
So a lot of cities, you just get a stipend for your cell phone. You don't have a city cell phone. And even when you get a stipend, your cell phone bill is not a public record. So it just, I don't think that there's any possibility. I mean, of course I could be wrong, but I don't see any possible way that, you know, you're turning control over to somebody else to determine what's a public record. So.
Well,
So this particular issue has not been addressed.
So we'll be a first.
I can't imagine,
We'll
you
set
met
the
in
bar.
New Smyrna, I can't imagine it's not the first time in the state of Florida. Like, surely this has been covered, but.
There's an AG opinion regarding cell phone bills, city cell phone bills that aren't detailed enough. And so trying to get more detailed information from the telephone provider, but they said, well, the telephone provider is not acting on behalf of the agency. So that one went nowhere. City cell phone bills have been addressed, but personal cell phone bills, I think just because it's clear that they're not public records, and that's why it hasn't been addressed.
All right. Is that it?
That's all.
Kelly, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. in this room,
Yes, that's correct.
the same setup?
Same exact setup. It won't be videotaped, it won't be live stream video, but the audio will be
Okay.
live streamed to the public.
And you're making like eggs and hash browns, and that'll just be
We
here
will
waiting
have
for us?
coffee
or-
here. I'm getting coffee before we come over, and a little Dunkin' Donut.
All right, so light breakfast and coffee, but,
I'm
Yes,
willing to
okay.
bring the donuts.
all right.
Do we have any people who?
Which I think she's getting some, what are you getting? She's getting some.
The little holes.
The holes from Duncan.
Mhm. And there will be lunch too from Publix. Everybody has a.
And then we got lunch coming, and then we've got an afternoon coffee and snack.
Tea time at 2.
We got nap time from 1 to, yeah, so any other questions about tomorrow? Has everybody got their casual dress for me? So y'all do what you want. All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.